What is happening out there, Roto Scouts baseball fans? Yes, I was waiting for you guys to start chanting my name, obviously. It's how I always do it. Glad you guys finally picked up on that. We can make it a thing every day. Every day I demand chanting. Wait till it just get longer and longer. Good to see everybody. Tango Hotels here. Started the chant. Carlos Soto was first in the door. Good to see you, buddy. Cujo's here as usual. All the regulars in the house already. I'm sure everybody else will be joining us shortly. Interesting slate to talk about tonight. 10 games on FanDuel starting at 6:45. DraftKings going with 8 starting at 7, I assume 7:05 or 7:10. 7 o'clock. Is it 7 o'clock on the nose? 7 o'clock on the nose, starting with the Dodgers and the Cubs game. That's actually weird. It's a 7 o'clock start there, and then it's 7:40 for the next game. So there's actually a little gap between the start of that one and the other ones. Interesting little oddity in the schedule, but 8 games on DK, regardless of when they start. 10 games on FanDuel. We'll start with the couple FanDuel games when we get into the game by game. I'll get through those as quickly as possible because I know DK is more popular, so I don't want to bore the entire audience for the first 45 minutes of the show. But speaking of, let's dive in. The website is rotoscouts, as you guys know. Check that out. Subscriptions are under $1 a day on a weekly, monthly, quarterly plan. Gets you access to MLB projections, the home run model, the top stacks tool, all the different MLB content, plus NBA projections, which are up right now for tonight's playoff slate, plus NHL projections, which are up for tonight's playoff slate right now, all the way through the playoffs, every single main slate, all included. Beyond the Rabbit Hole, what's going on? Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Andy, Dimitri, good to see you guys. How'd everybody do last night? Any decent hits? Shea Langoliers didn't come through with the home run. It's been a minute on the home run pick. I went with old reliable Mike Trout against Andrew Heaney today as the home run pick, not to spoil it. But that's the home run pick of the day. He was second on the board overall, I think. He get one, so I figured we'll go right to the top of the board, and I saw him sitting there in that matchup. Couldn't resist. Maybe a little chalky, a little on the nose, more so than I like to do, but again, want to put another mark in the W column. It's been a minute. But let's get rolling here. We'll talk Vegas board. Mariners at the Red Sox, monster total in this one, 10-run total. Unfortunately, not available on the DraftKings main. There is a short 2 or 3 game early slate on DK if you want to jump into that. Obviously, everything I say about that game will apply on DraftKings. Just obviously apply the price differencing. Decent total on the Mariners side of that one at 4.68. They're going up against Sean Newcomb, and then it's Emerson Hancock on the bump for the Mariners. So problematic spot for Seattle. He's the odd man out in that pitching staff as far as the overall talent level of that 5-man rotation. And he's just kind of a fill-in right now with Kirby still out, but 5.42 implied total, highest on the entire 10-game slate on FanDuel for the Red Sox. They look like monsters today. Orioles at the Nats in the other early game. That's another fairly low-end pitching matchup, in my opinion, and you're drawing a big total on the Orioles. Bats 5.11 is another of the 4 highest and the 4 above 5 runs that are on the FanDuel slate. Again, absent from the DK slate, but 9.5 runs overall in that game. The Nats, kind of similarly to the Mariners, drawing a fair total at 4.5 runs themselves. They're going up against Tomo Sugano, and it's Trevor Williams on the mound for the Nationals going up against the Orioles. We obviously favor the Orioles bats, but there are some interesting bats on that Nationals team this year, so we're definitely going to take a look at them as well. Dodgers and the Cubbies drawing a 9.5 total. They put up another monster game last night. Both these teams pulling high 4s, 4.78, 4.81 implied totals. That game looking like it's going to go off again. It's Noah Davis on the mound for the Dodgers. Kid's been working mostly in relief, so I'm expecting just an inning or two as like an opener, and then we just get into the pen pretty quickly. And then on the mound for the Cubs, it's Matthew Boyd. So we're not exactly targeting pitching in that one with 2 big totals, nearly 5 runs. The Rockies at the Royals. The Royals look really interesting with a 5+ total, 5.24 implied runs for them. They're going up against Herman Marquez or whatever's left of them. He has not looked pretty in his return to action. We'll see if he ever gets there, but I don't think tonight's the day to chase with him. And the Rockies are drawing just a 3.87 implied total against Michael Lorenzen, who maybe we consider against that completely terrible Rockies lineup. They're drawing a little bit of power upside, but only kind of mid-board around the obvious guys. Bowden Francis on the mound for the Blue Jays. Mid-fours totals on both sides of this one, 4.28, 4.30, essentially the same, drawing pretty even in Vegas with an 8.5 run total. It's Ryan Gusto, converted reliever on the mound for the Astros. He's been at least moderately interesting. He struck out 6 over 4 innings, 2 starts back, allowed just 2 earned runs. He was getting stretched out, got to 5 innings, faced 22 hitters, allowed 9 hits, only struck out 2, didn't walk anybody. But he's got some effective stuff. So we'll at least talk about him, but it's that low strikeout on both sides matchup that we were talking about yesterday, with Vegas seeing it a little bit even and favoring the bats a little bit with both teams above 4. I don't know that we need to mind pitching there. White Sox and the Twins, we've got an excellent option in David Festa, high upside, developing young pitcher, yet to allow an earned run, 4 1/3 and 4 2/3 against the Mets and the Tigers. Hasn't gotten to qualify for a win, hasn't gotten to a quality start yet, obviously. Faced 19 hitters in both games, but didn't allow an earned run in either. Struck out 6 Mets, struck out 4 Tigers. Really interesting starter today against one of the worst lineups in baseball. On the other side, it's Bryce Wilson taking the bump for the White Sox. I expect like 3 innings. He's gone 2, he's gone 3. We could see one of those oddballs where we're thinking it's an opener and he ends up getting out to 5 innings. I wouldn't expect any more than that. I don't think there's much ceiling here. The Twins are drawing a 5.28 implied total. Don't think you're chasing on the mound for the White Sox. Pirates and the Angels, already mentioned. Andrew Heaney on the mound for the Pirates. He's actually been pretty decent this year, but we're still drawn to the power upside that he flashes over time. We're drawn to a lot of the right-handed bats for the Angels. Again, Mike Trout, the home run pick of the day. It's Jack Kachanowicz on the mound for Los Angeles. Pushing an okay, maybe chaseable total toward the Pirates, 4.27, with a few interesting bats in that lineup that we've talked about a few times this season. It's not nothing there. Kachanowicz has not been good. 1 strikeout exactly in each of his last 2 games, 4 2/3 in each game, faced exactly 23 hitters in each game, 10 combined earned runs. It's a lot. Rays at the Diamondbacks. D-backs drawing nearly a 5-run total on their side. Erod's on the mound for Arizona. It's Taj Bradley on the mound. Obviously, he's got strikeout upside, 7 strikeouts in each of his first 3. But he's given up a lot of runs so far this season. He's been getting hit fairly hard in a lot of spots. 3 home runs allowed, 6 earned runs allowed in his last game, over 5 1/3. There is talent there, and he's going to flash upside starts for sure. But the Diamondbacks are not a great target for that, especially not drawing a total like that. Rays bats going up against Erod, maybe we consider, but I do think he's got upside. He's been on form this season so far, and we know that he's a very talented pitcher when everything's going right in his life, everything's going right injury-wise. He's had a lot of issues being in and out, or on and off the mound over the last few years. But so far this season, last time out, 5 1/3 of 1-run ball, 10 hits allowed to the Marlins, but struck out 9 and got through the game. Had a 12 strikeout game against the Nationals, again, over just 5 innings. Allowed 4 runs in that one, but a monster strikeout total. Maybe we consider some Erod. Brewers at the Giants toward the end of the night, just a 6.5 run total there. That's looking like the NBA game total in the Celtics game. 196.5 in that game. I can't remember the last time we had a sub 200 total. Playoff basketball. Projected up on the website. Check it out. So Brewers Giants, 6.5 run total there. Obviously, we're mining some starting pitching out of this one. I think that's going to be something that pretty much everybody's doing. It's Freddie Peralta going for the Brewers. It's Logan Webb going for the Giants. Aces of both teams going in a very favorable pitching environment. We can see where the run totals are. I don't know that we're going to bats in that game. We're probably just looking at the pitchers. And then we round things out with another pretty hefty total at the end of the night with the Rangers and the A's. 4.79 implied total on the Rangers side. They ended up going off a little bit last night. And then 4.81 implied on the Athletics side. It's Kumar Rocker, who was very good in his last start, going for the Rangers. And then it's JP Sears, who I guess has made 4 starts, but I literally do not think a single one of those 4 starts was on a main slate. I don't remember discussing JP Sears this season yet. He's an interesting lefty. He's got a little bit of strikeout potential. On the right day, you can catch JP Sears. I just don't know if this is the spot where we want to chase. But am I wrong? Have we talked about him on a show? I don't think he's been on a main slate or a slate that we've had a show for anyway. That's the one thing, Larry. Like I was saying with Festa, we haven't qualified for a win yet. All right, 4 1/3 in both games. That's with 6 strikeouts and a walk in the last one. So it's going to really come down to price and popularity, I would expect, as to how usable that is. Where's he priced? 88 is a little bit higher than I'd honestly want. 84, I think that's a lot more workable on FanDuel, even without the quality start bonus. He projects out really strong. That's the thing. He's got great stuff. Good strikeout pitcher. Still a developing young kid, but that is a nothing lineup. So I assume, what do we actually have pitch-wise? Let's see. $76 in that last start. He bumped up from 64 to 76 pitches in that one. So it wouldn't be unreasonable to expect 85 pitches, which he could complete 6 innings against this team on, honestly. Might be a stretch to get through 6, but I would expect him to be able to qualify for a win today. Let's put it that way. I think he gets through 5 against that team. Oh wait, I wanted to be over there. And he projects out great. He's right there on the board. It's just this isn't really a great price on DraftKings. I do think he's talented enough, but his ceiling gets surpassed by a lot of other guys when he's at that kind of a price. If you had him at a fair SP2 price, even a few $100 cheaper, just down in like the low 8s, like a Heaney Boyd kind of a price, I think he'd have more upside on DK. But what you might get is a solid 5 innings with a good handful of strikeouts for your 88 there as a pay up to be contrarian SP2. I don't know how popular that's going to make him on DraftKings. Let's see where he's projected. We're already in the weeds. It's a worthwhile discussion, though. No. Can't get the ownership to load. It is a really interesting spot because of how strong that matchup is. No, that's a lot of ownership. So I think people are just going to it like an SP1, given that he's in the upper 20s in projected ownership at the place I'm looking. So yeah, I like it less with that much weight on it at that price. It's still very, very good. And if you got full pitch count, 6 innings upside, then I think the ceiling does rival everybody else. It's just with that lingering thought that we might be looking at, all right, Kig, you gave us 5, you qualify for a win today. We're up by 7 runs. Why don't you go sit down? Great job. Might be looking at that kind of day. But even within that, we could clear 40 FanDuel points, especially if he gets the bonus for the win. Could clear 20 DraftKings points. So it's not off the board by any stretch on DK. And I'm sure he's going to be popular on FanDuel. The 2 aces in the later game out in San Fran, topping the board, topping the price board. Perfectly fair to have them as the highest priced and among the highest owned pitchers. Either side of that one's going to look very, very good with that ballpark, with that run total and the conditions, and they're both excellent. So either way you want to go at the top of the board. Taj Bradley, projected like he is interesting. Like I said, it's not a great matchup for him, and he's been a little bit of a tinderbox as far as allowing runs. But there is a ton of strikeout potential there in terms of his talent. So we'll explore it. I like it a little better at 85 on DK, but that's still up there, especially if I can just pay 300 more and take the shot with Festa. At 95 on FanDuel, I'm having a tough time. But he projects out fine. There's no real ability to suppress that projection without doing it artificially. Michael Lorenzen against that weak Colorado lineup, I think, is a dynamite SP2 at 7,300 on the DraftKings slate. Just seems very straightforward to go right to that and just attack that terrible, terrible team. They are, again, drawing a little bit of power, but Lorenzen's got more than enough talent to get through that. At 82 on FanDuel, you can throw some darts at it, but he's not an ideal upside option as a single pitcher. Bowden Francis, 87, 78, very, very playable, but I don't love the matchup against Houston. Erod, 93, 9,000. You're paying up for that strikeout bump that he's seen recently. I don't love him at price. I'd be more inclined to go there if he was in that mid-range, Lorenzen type FanDuel price. You could pay into the 8s for him. I question whether he's worth 9 on DraftKings. That's a pretty penny. And that Tampa lineup is not bad. They're worse against lefties. There are plenty of strikeouts, but they're not bad. Heaney against LA is kind of the same thing on FanDuel. 97 is very steep. I know he's been pitching well, but that LA lineup has been explosive. They've got a lot of really good right-handed bats in it. Really question the upside there at 97 on FanDuel, the third most expensive pitcher. At 81, I think Heaney's a lot more playable, and that's probably around where Erod ought to be priced. Maybe like 85 versus Heaney's 81. That's a noteworthy price difference between those two when they project identically. So you just take the shot with Heaney there if you're fishing around in that price range and you're desperate to take a lefty in a not great matchup and a mediocre lefty at that. But both those guys are there. They're very similar. Matthew Boyd, I think we just try and avoid the Dodgers again, but at 8,000, there is at least a little bit of value on that. JP Sears, I would throw some darts at 77 on DraftKings against Texas. We'll give him a look. Like I said, I don't remember breaking him down, so I haven't actually looked at his game by game or anything. But we'll pull it up. But at this price, just knowing the track record, I would take some shots there. I think you could take some shots with Kumar Rocker as well, given that most recent start, given what the talent and the upside looks like against a very, very talented, hard-hitting A's lineup. Nick Kurtz should be in the lineup today. There's still tons of upside, I think, for Rocker as an SP2 at 6,900. That's like a bargain bin SP2 price, and he's way more talented than that. So that's a really good spot. I kind of like that. At 79 on FanDuel, I'm a little less interested because I feel like it's a bigger dice roll at the somewhat higher price. He's still a very good discount compared to a lot of the other guys on the board, but I think he suffers a little bit from probably not making the quality start. Suffers a little bit from being in one of the riskier, more explosive matchups, and just there's not as much track record here. But it's playable. It's higher end on DraftKings for the value. This is a no in the FanDuel game. This is on the board as a value play at 72 on DraftKings, 73 on FanDuel. I don't think you go there and tangle with the low strikeout Blue Jays lineup, but Gusto has been at least interesting. Sugano's been really low end. 7,000. I don't think you're going there on FanDuel. The outings have been short. Newcomb, even against Seattle, don't think we're going there. Not with all the upside for offense showing in that game. And then this entire bottom of the board is just not there. These two are not going to see enough innings, I don't think. And even if Wilson stretched out to 5, I don't think it's a good spot against the Twins. And then all three of these guys are just hard-nosed in their matchup. So the board cuts somewhere around, realistically, here. Right? It's like this group of guys that are available on both slates is basically everybody I would want on this slate. So it's an interesting board. Plenty of targets plenty of spots to target for offense. Could be Travis says, hey, Terry, yesterday on 10-game slate, Bubic and Bailey Ober were 60 and 50% respectively. As the meta shifted too far with Sims, the ROI pre-lock is irrelevant with data that far off the mark. I think there is a mismatch for sure in ownership, especially depending on where you're looking at it and the eventual outcomes via those Sims. There's not a good alignment right now of that. So, yeah, I do agree with that a little bit. And it really skews what some of those things look like pre-lock. I don't necessarily think that those are incorrect numbers as far as the ownership on those pitchers in that slate, though. The way that slate was a little bit top-heavy, there wasn't really a true ace. It was just like Bubic has been pitching well, and he was in a spectacular matchup. But like everybody on that slate was Bailey Ober or less talented, basically. So I think it makes sense that they were that highly owned. And that's been just part of the industry. That's the thing. Like, it's chalk is chalk for a reason. At the top end like that, you're going to get that, and you should have those guys. And you just shake off the fact that everybody's got them. They bust. And that's the days where the people who just, go nuts just chasing guys because they're just specifically low owned. Like, I'd much rather have, an upside play. Obviously, if it was lower owned, that would be great. But especially on DraftKings in SP1, I'd much rather have a good ceiling and a very high floor and a little bit of like not safety because, we're obviously not risk averse, but trying to lock in a certain amount there, regardless of ownership, I think is perfectly fine, especially if you're building 1-5 lineups, something in that range. I think you can take the safe approach at SP1, and then you can differentiate at SP2. You can differentiate with what bats you're going to. There's so many ways to gain leverage on the field and to get different. And I think sims, they're very, very valuable, obviously, for basketball, for football. I question whether a lot of sims are correctly built for baseball. It's not the same thing. So a lot of it remains to be seen. Obviously, people are seeing good results, but a lot of that is coming from the places that were already giving good results via, projections and so forth. The old methods. So is it the quality that they're just drawing from those sites and the volume? And it looks like the results are coming through correctly? Or do certain places have the tools built right and certain places have the tools built wrong? It's going to be interesting to watch. But I do think, to your question, that ownership is a little bit skewed. Anyway, that's been your lecture on sims. Let's get into this slate a little bit. I will, again, try and cruise through these two games that are only on FanDuel, but there is a small slate on DraftKings for these two, so everything I say will apply. Hit the like button as we get started. Subscribe to the channel if you've not before. Check out rotoscouts.com. Everything's under $1 a day for access to all of it. If you see it on the website, it's included. Emerson Hancock, hard no thank you. 14.8% strikeout rate in his 5 2/3 over 2 starts. That actually looks like 5 innings in a start against Cincinnati at Cincinnati. He actually only gave up 2 earned runs over that 5. Came on 5 hits. Struck out 4, walked 0, allowed a homer. 6 earned runs on 7 hits over 2/3 of an inning against Detroit in his first outing back on the 31st. It's been a minute. He missed... looks like he went 2 weeks in there without starting, 31st to the 17th. And now we're 6 and change days out from that. So he's just filler for the Mariners, and I see no reason to consider him a realistic option here. He's sub-average via Stuff Plus. He's right at the league average overall for his career by Location Plus, but his Location Plus this season is sitting at 106. Small sample. We'll see where it comes out. I'm not a fan of the pitcher, not with the Red Sox drawing a 5.42 implied total. Sean Newcomb, he's going just 4 and change. He hasn't completed the 5th inning yet this year, 4 2/3 in his last start. Had the Rays pretty handled. 4 hits allowed, no earned runs, 4 strikeouts, 2 walks in that sample, faced 18 hitters. There's not a ton of upside here, though. 6 runs, but only 2 earned in his second start. That was against the White Sox. 6 strikeouts in that game, 5 strikeouts, but 3 walks, 1 earned run allowed over 4 2/3 against St. Louis. It's a low-end spot with Newcomb. Once upon a time, there was the idea of some talent here, but where we need to get 6 innings and a quality start, most likely on FanDuel, it just seems like a stretch. Even at 7,200, I don't think you're getting much more than 4 strikeouts here, even against the Mariners. 23.5% strikeout rate so far this season, just a 7.4% swinging strike rate, though, at 25.1% CSW, 1.90 whip. Seems a little off. I do think you can grab some Mariners bats there at a 4.68 implied total. You've got Dylan Moore up at the top at 32. You've got 33 on Julio, Kyle Raleigh, Randy Rosarena. But the pricing dips immediately down bottom. It's pretty stark as you look at it on how FanDuel set it up today. And you've got some okay bats down here. 2,400 for Mitch Garver against a weak lefty in this park. I love the upside for Mitch Garver's power. 6.25. Play him like he's their first baseman. You don't care about that on FanDuel. 2,400 is a great price. It brings your pricing down for these other guys. And yeah, you just go catcher util or first base util. But it brings the average immediately down to 3,000. If you use 2 of those guys, you're way cheaper. Donovan Solano is a reasonable option for line drive upside. He fills 3 positions on FanDuel for just 2,200. Ben Williamson, Leo Rivas, and JP Crawford down the lineup. You haven't gotten too much. Williamson's had an interesting 26 plate appearances, though. He's got a homer on the board. He's created runs 18% better than average. What stands out, though, is the substandard 283 xwOBA. He's barreled a few balls in the small sample, though. Maybe you can mix some of him in. Does get a little thin down that way. But that's a strong top 4. And honestly, I would say that about Mitch Garver, too. It's a strong top 5. Moore's at 300, 364, 567. He's been driving the ball effectively. He's been creating runs. He's got 5 home runs on the board, oddly, 5 stolen bases. Dylan Moore's given us flashes like this before. At the end of the season, he'll be around 12 to 15 home runs and 15 to 18 stolen bases. But he's got some talent. 13% barrel rate so far this season. If he's pushed that a little bit and he's looking to hit the ball, to drive the ball a little bit more, could be interesting. Julio's obviously a superstar. Cal Raleigh's got superstar power. He's hit 9 home runs already this year. He's got a 356 ISO, a ridiculous 408 xWOBA, 25.8% barrel rate. Cal Raleigh's absurd. 9.61 in the home run model. You could easily have seen that over 10 today. Julio at 9.34. These are your 2 priorities. Third best is probably Randy Arozarena, 10.9% barrels, 45.5% hard hits. We've at least gotten the 4 home runs into 6 stolen bases. We're at a 386 xWOBA, so everything's going to be fine. 193 on the front end of the triple slash. Don't let that fool you. 350 on base, 410 slug, creating runs 34% better than average. Everything is fine. On the Red Sox side, it's this same lineup, at least 1 through 6. 7, 8, 9, not in love with those options. But anybody against a weak pitcher like Emerson Hancock and then just getting into the bullpen, perfectly fine. They're cheap options to bolt on to the Red Sox, but your priorities are up top. Among those guys, Romy Gonzalez is probably the most interesting. So then Rafaela can create counting stats. He's got a home run and 6 stolen bases on the board, but that's basically all he's good for. Romy Gonzalez so far, 346, 414, 500, a 320 xWOBA, creating runs 64% better than average. Last year over 216, he slashed 266, 306, 417. He can hit a little bit, but he doesn't have much pop. So you're just looking for some base hits and a table setter. I'd actually be more interested if Romeo was hitting down here and you could wrap him around. A little bit of a stretch there from the 7 spot. But if you're going like mid down, then maybe you get the Romeo to close out a middle stack. He's got just enough upside for that. Top of the board, though, with Jarren Duran, looking great, 7.96 in your home run model, 12.3 for Rafi Devers. Devers has only hit 2. We're kind of back to ugly numbers for Rafi in some of the traditional stats. 209, 345, 352, a 381 xWOB underlying, a ridiculous premium contact rate, 21.3% barrel, 62% hard hits. Continue to believe that we'll be perfectly fine there. Alex Bregman's off to a good start at 302, 376, 521, a 345 xWOBA, creating runs 55% better than average. You got 4 home runs from him. You've got 4 from Willie Abreu. Trevor Story has been mashing to start the season. 13.6% barrels, 54.5% hard hits, 5 home runs, 6 stolen bases. Looking a lot like the old Trevor Story. Still only 3,100 at shortstop on FanDuel. That's an absolute priority spot in one of the highest priority FanDuel stacks of the day. And then Tristan Casas is just 2,700. 2 home runs on the board. We're hoping to see some signs of life. 277 xWOBA. You can point to the 10.3% barrels, the 44.8% hard hits, which are both down for him, but still good numbers. And at 2,700, that's a very good power purchase. At first base, 9.79 in the home run model. We're second on the team. Love the upside for some of these lefties against a bad righty. I think you start up here. 1, 2 of those guys. I think you prioritize grabbing Tristan Casas as your third man. That's an effective 3-man on its own for just 31.60 apiece. And then pick your favorite out of those 3 in the middle. And I think it's a great 4-man stack on FanDuel. It's going to be popular, though, with that total. Red Sox bats, Mariners bats. Neither pitcher. Second FanDuel game, Orioles drawing a monster total. Beyond the Rabbit Hole asks Lorenzen or Boyd on FanDuel. I think that's dramatically Lorenzen. 8,200 against the Rockies versus 8,800 against the Dodgers. I think that one answers itself, bud. That's strongly Lorenzen regardless of ownership. It's one of the best spots you're going to get against the Rockies. Synthetica, what's going on? And way better than throwing anybody against the Dodgers. And Matthew Boyd's not good. Let's remember that. That's the next game up. You're talking about a guy with a 21% strikeout rate, 9.5% walk, a 4.5 xFIP. I know he's pitched effectively in his first couple starts, but you don't want to get caught up in results based. You want to look at things like the underlying stuff, with the swinging strike rate, the CSW, his ability to actually just throw strikes, and then consider the lineup that he's facing. Definitely not interested in Matthew Boyd. But let's breeze through this one. So not interested in Tomo Sugano. We did get a better start in his last one. He went 7 in that one. He had only gone 5 1/3 max, and that was in his second start against Kansas City. And then he had 2 starts where he failed to complete the 5th inning. Little bit better, but he allowed 2 home runs. Those were the only 2 earned runs that came on 5 hits over 7. He faced 25 batters. He struck out just 3. He didn't walk anybody, but it's just a really low strikeout pitcher so far in the show. 9.2% strikeout rate with a 7.8% swinging. There's nothing really to suggest that he's going to miss more bats for us. Stuff Plus doesn't really like the arsenal. Location Plus, he's at 104. So he does hit his spots, but he's really not generating any kind of swinging strikes. He's not working enough for called strikes in the zone. He's allowing a ton of barrels, ton of hard hits, 4.60% home run rate so far. I think he's just a target for some of these interesting Nationals bats. And then with Trevor Williams on the mound, there's not that much more coming the other way. He does have essentially double the strikeout rate in his 4 starts, 19 2/3, but a 5.95 ERA, a 4.08 xFIP. He's allowed power going back on a very high fly ball trajectory. Going back to last year, it was better for missing power over his 13 starts, is 66 2/3. Still a very high fly ball trajectory. This is mostly happenstance that this was this low. Missed some barrels, though. But the year before that, we were at a 5.16% home run rate with a monster barrel rate, tons of power allowed, over 144 1/3 in 30 starts. So the truth is, he allows a ton of power. I really don't think we're taking Trevor Williams shots, even at 74, going up against the Orioles, projected over 5. This is another game with just bats. Cedric Mullins up at the top for the Orioles, 3,500, fully priced up on FanDuel. He's off to a killer start at 294, 43, 623. I expect most of that to cool, but the 362 xWOBA suggests that that bat is fully engaged and back to old form. 9.4% barrels. We could be looking at a 20-plus home run season with 30-plus stolen bases out of Ced Mullins. He's been that good in the past. 212 WRC plus so far. Probably not going to continue creating runs, 112% better than average. If he does, he's the MVP. But he's been really, really good, and you definitely couldn't go wrong starting a stack with him in the outfield. Gunnar Henderson's a superstar for 3,400. You just take him, 11.37 in the home run model, 10% barrel, 62.5% hard hits over his 64 plate appearances. I know he hasn't looked quite right if you're looking eyeball test-wise. He's hit 2 home runs. One of them was just kind of a weird shot the other way. But we trust the talent fully. If the Orioles are putting him on the field, I trust that he's fully healthy, and you just keep going there. 314 xWOBA, 197 ISO. The bat's going to come around. He's too good for it to not. At 34, you're saving easily $400 on him. Probably 6. Adley at just 3,000. He's at 4 home runs, 384 xWOBA. There's tons of pop there. Just at 200, 297, 375. Disappointing results, but everything underlying on Adley, including the very low strikeout rate with the high walk rate. He's a good run creator, great bat on ball option. So for 3,000, you can pretend like he's their first baseman. You can skip Ryan O'Hearn for him, but Ryan O'Hearn's also a very good option at 29. 296, 377, 519 to start his year. A monster 401 xWOBA, suggesting there's even more to come. 3 home runs on the board, 55.3% hard hits. This looks like just some of those great stretches of Ryan O'Hearn we've seen over the last 2 years. Tyler O'Neill with monster power, 10.17 in the home run model. Just 2 on the board, slipped down to 233, 04, 410 in an extended stretch of not great performance, but 345 xWOBA, continues to put great bat on ball when he makes contact with it. We'll get there. Love Tyler O'Neill's upside in the long term. Histon Kjerstad against any mediocre righty is perfectly fine to grab some shares of. So far, 16.2% barrels, 48.6% hard hits for just 2,400. Fire away. He's going to be cheap, and he's going to be lower owned than most of the other guys in this lineup. Jordan Westberg, off to a bad start but does have 4 home runs on the board, has a 359 xWOBA that just completely alleviates any concerns about the 187, 247 start to his slash line. He's also got a 15.5% barrel rate. This Orioles lineup is still killer. They've burnt us a couple times already this season, but we're going right back here. Jackson Holliday, Ramon Urias. This is a 9-man lineup. Holliday's got 2 home runs on the board, just a 148 ISO, 295 xWOBA. The concerns linger around Jackson Holliday as to what he's going to be, but still trust the talent at that kind of a price when I can put him at second base and not sweat it. And then you get Ramon Urias, who for several seasons now has been a really cheap, completely under-owned bat when you go to this team when he's in the lineup at the bottom of the lineup. He's a great option for that, like Kyle Farmer from the last couple of years when he was on the Twins, like Michael A. Taylor, who we get shots at every now and again. Love the upside for Urias. 10% barrel rate so far this season, slashing 319, 389, 362, 325 xWOBA over his 54 plate appearances. Hasn't hit one out yet this year, but 11 home runs and 301 last year. Slipped to just 4 in 2023. That was an oddball season where he didn't come up with those here and there home runs, but hit 16 back in over 445 plate appearances back in 22. Puts good bat on ball. You go to the Nationals. A couple really interesting lefties up top. James Wood mashing the ball so far this season. 7 home runs for the kid over 100 plate appearances, slashing 253, 350, 552. His created runs 47% better than average, 19.7% barrels. I'm a big buyer on the talent. 8.09 in the home run mile. Could honestly be a little bit higher against this heavy contact pitcher. Nathaniel Lowe, great on-base skills, making killer contact to start his season. He's hit 4 home runs. Great slash line to start, 354 xWOBA, 207 ISO. Looking every bit the part of the version of Nathaniel Lowe that hit 27 home runs a few years ago. Luis Garcia Jr. is not coming up because of that junior. Forgot to change it. Now he's not coming up because there's too many Luis Garcias. Forget it. He's got a good hit tool. I got to fix that board. Luis Garcia Jr.'s got a good hit tool. He could put the ball in play effectively. He had a very good year last year. He's only 2,500 at second base. You could easily play him from the 3 spot in this lineup. Keibert Ruiz, you can pretend he's their first baseman. You're only sacrificing Josh Bell or Nathaniel Lowe, and you can go with him and Lowe or him and Bell, or obviously Bell and Lowe. Couple of home runs for Keibert. 3 home runs on the board for Josh Bell in the next spot. But Keibert's slashing 329, 378, 461, truly capitalizing on all that bat on ball that he generates. 9.8% strikeout rate so far, 4.9% walk. Just equals a ton of opportunity. And he's getting the BABIP on his side this year. The last couple seasons, we didn't really see that. We didn't really see him drive the ball all that effectively. He's driving the ball a little bit more this year. The 347 xWOBA supports the upside. I think he's really interesting for 29 if you're going to this team. Dylan Cruz, maybe we're starting to see some signs of life. He's got 3 home runs on the board, 6 stolen bases. He's got a 347 xWOBA, 14.5% barrel rate. These are encouraging numbers for the kid who's been scuffling at the major league level so far. We're also still at 189, 221, 324, a 50 WRC plus. So he's got a long way to go, but the talent is very, very real. Jose Tena, Jacob Young, and Nasim Nunez down the bottom of the lineup, all mix and match pieces. You get a little bit of speed upside out of those guys, but not a ton of reliability. Orioles bats, Nationals bats, neither of these pitchers. On to the final 8 games. Welcome in DraftKings people. I just realized that which of those was not confirmed? One of those was not confirmed, right? Yeah, the Nats, it is in now. It is exactly the same as what's projected there. I just grab it, pop it in here. Actually, you know what? Yeah, I will, because we'll do the other ones as we go. All right. Dodgers and the Cubbies. Neither of these is in. So, Noah Davis, like I said, I would expect we're maxing out at 2 innings. He faced 1 hitter on the yesterday. Came in and faced 1 batter, allowed a hit, and an unearned run, it looks like, and took the loss. Wow. So he takes the loss last night and he starts the game today. Just going to be working here as a traditional opener. I wouldn't expect more than 2. I don't think we're going there. You can absolutely draw Cubs bats against whatever the Dodgers are doing on the mound. 4.81 implied total supports tons of offense. 4.79 on the other side. We're just going to see another big day out at Wrigley, and I think we want to be a part of the bats. Matthew Boyd, 8,000, 8,800. He projects out okay, considering the matchups against the Dodgers and considering who he is. Those aren't terrible numbers, but I think the price is too high on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I think you do just have better options to work with in that price range. 8,000, like I'd probably rather have Heaney against the lower end Angels lineup, even with the power upside that they're showing in his wonkiness. I'd probably rather take shots with Bowden Francis against a good Astros lineup. 73 on Lorenzen, I think, is a no-brainer, like I was saying before. Definitely would go there. Kumar Rocker maybe even would be worth some shots at 6,900, 77 on JP Sears, same deal. So I really just, I avoid this Dodgers lineup unless it's absolutely necessary or unless it's a true upside ace type pitcher. Boyd so far this season, 21.1% Ks, 9.5% walks, 4.53 xFIP like I was pointing out before. I think there's plenty of upside to go to the Dodgers bats. We're just kind of going to avoid the pitchers in this game as well. And there's nothing about the game environment that supports going to the pitchers either, by the way. So bats galore. Shohei Ohtani at 12.26. The one thing you have gotten in 4 starts so far this year, pretty low barrel rate out of Boyd, very good ability in missing hard hits so far. Exit velo's there. Last year, there's no real demonstration of that as an ongoing talent. The year before, maybe you could argue that it's there a little bit at 35.5, but these are a lot more just, common type numbers rather than this, which would be pretty spectacular. So I think we're just going up in hard hits as we get more of a sample here on Boyd, and it could start tonight with this Dodgers lineup. But 12.26, that is having a little bit of an impact on the home run numbers. Everybody else below the magic number. But Mookie at 7.42 is perfectly serviceable. 5,900 as a shortstop only on DraftKings. Loses flexibility that he has on FanDuel. Love him at second base. Anytime you can put Mookie Betts at second base and go on to roster another top-end shortstop and good outfielder, it's just a bargain at any price. 231, 348, 410 for Mookie so far this year. The xWOB is not where we want it, but it's Mookie Betts. I think we give him the benefit of the doubt for a long, long time. 8.7% strikeouts. We're getting tons of bat on ball. It's just we've lost a little bit of barrel. We're down at 2.9%, 28.6% hard hits. Those are like Luis Arias kind of numbers. I think we'll go back up. I think we'll be okay. Ohtani's hit 6 home runs. That's it. Loser. Come on. Cal Raleigh's got 9. This guy's not going to win an MVP. I think Ohtani, we're going to come roaring back to life in terms of that power, given the 456 xWOBA that he's got. He's also still sporting a 241 ISO, a 506 slug. He's created runs 39% better than average, carrying a 16.4% barrel rate, a 59% hard hit rate. He's every bit as good as he was last season. He's ridiculous. Teoscar Hernandez, 49.34, great price. 5 home runs on the board, 317 xWOB is fine, 235 ISO. He's out there doing Teoscar Hernandez things. He looks exactly like himself outside of he's missed a few barrels, lost a little bit of hard hit. So considering that we've gotten production, I think we're just going up as his hard hit and contact from the last couple of years returns. It's not like that just went away. So small sample of batted ball events. This will turn around in an awful hurry and we'll get even more production out of Teoscar. Freddie Freeman, 16.7% barrels, 52.8% hard hits. Those numbers look pretty great. 4 home runs on the board, 468 xWOBA, crushing the ball right now. The 273 average is a little bit odd to see for Freddie Freeman, but he had dipped last year. We've talked about it before. Dipped down to 282 after going 331 the year before. He was at 325 the year before that. We might just be in that stage of the career for Freddie where he's not quite as quick in terms of the hitting for average, but he can draw more power now, and he'll change up his style a little bit. He's always been a good power bat already, but we might see a monster home run season from Freddie. He's also already missed a little bit of time, but any day you get him in the lineup, 56-36, perfectly fine. Tommy Edman continues to just defy logic. He hit his 8th home run of the season last night. He's got a 304 ISO, a 392 xWOBA, 48.8% hard hit rate, and 11+% barrel rate. Look where his barrel rates were the last 2 seasons, 3.6, 5%. He's been a 12 to 15 home run guy for his career. We're at the point now where we looked at this a couple weeks ago. He's got 14 home runs in 252 plate appearances since joining the Dodgers, carrying a 229 ISO. His career ISO in like 600 games before that, or here, over 2,677 plate appearances, including the time with the Dodgers. His career ISO still sits at 151. He's hit 67 career home runs, and 14 of them have come over his last 252 plate appearances. That's more than he has hit in any single season of the rest of his career. 528 with 13, 630 with 13, 691 with 11. I don't know what they're putting in the water in Los Angeles, but it's working really well for Tommy Edman. And honestly, he's still cheap. 4,100 second base outfield. The pricing algorithm doesn't believe in any of this. Nor do I really, but I think you can definitely go there because they haven't priced him up. 33 on FanDuel. It's up there, but it's still playable. He's been a $3,300 quality player on FanDuel before, even before this power surge. Whatever's going on, I'm a buyer if I'm going to the Dodgers. Will Smith at 41.31, great price for him. He's slashing 350, 453, 567. I don't know how they arrived at that price. Kind of like Corey Seager yesterday. That's just ridiculously cheap for an uber talented player at a position that you need to fill on DraftKings that you don't on the other side. He should be a $5,000 catcher every day on DraftKings. So take advantage while he's cheap. He's mashing to start his season, and we've seen this from him before at this kind of level. Max Muncy for just 33.27 remains interesting. I don't care about the 181, 286, 250. I care about the 350 xwOBA. I care about the 14% barrels, the 48.8% hard hits. Striking out a little bit more common than he has over the past 2 seasons, 26% rate over the last 2. It's up about 10 points so far this year. Still drawing his walks, though. We just need to shave this down a little bit, make a little bit more frequent contact. The home runs are going to come. Everything's going to be fine. We're seeing too much high-quality contact for it not to come out that way. Get him while he's cheap. Enrique Hernandez, Andy Pages, mix and match pieces down lineup. You do get a little bit of power upside. Both guys, sub Mendoza, 327 xwOBA out of Enrique so far. 238 out of Pages is kind of concerning. He's lost his premium contact to start the season, but he was very good for it last year. Decent power upside from either one of those cheap bats at the bottom, but they're just mixers. Cubs bats. I saw a lineup come in. Did we get either of these? Oh, we just got the Dodgers. And it's different down lineup. So forget everything I said about Max Muncy. Top 5 is the same. Pages moves to 6. I'll put it on the board. And then we get Michael Conforto in a lefty-lefty, which is another upside power lefty. Kind of just fills in where Max Muncy was. And then it's Miguel Rojas and Austin Barnes down lineup. So there's also no Will Smith. So that sucks. Wasting my breath on a couple guys who are very good but are not going to be in the lineups. Does suck to the value of this team losing Will Smith at that price. Austin Barnes is not the same upside hitter, but he's dead mid price. So at least there's a value mixer there now. So it does make it functional. It probably makes it easier to roster Shohei and Mookie together now. Because if you just do that and that, brings it to sub 5,000 for a stack that includes Freddie, Teoscar, Mookie, and Shohei. And you just throw Austin Barnes in there at catcher and hope he gets a base hit. So effective discounts, but neither one of those guys at the bottom is even comparable to the guys who they replaced. Ian Happ, love him at the top of the Cubs lineup. 271, 358, 374 to start the season. The power's been out a little bit, but he's got 2 home runs on the board, 103 ISO, but a 349 xwOBA. The contact, everything about it suggests that the power will come back on eventually. Low strikeout, very high walk. Excellent option setting the table ahead of Kyle Tucker, if nothing else. So love grabbing some shares of Ian Happ. Pair him with Kyle Tucker and helps average down the price on both sites. That immediately, just as a 2-man, brings Kyle Tucker's price to 38, and I don't mind paying that price for Ian Happ. On DraftKings, 54. It's obviously still very high on the Happ side, but at least it helps average down. You do have 2 high prices on Seiya Suzuki and Michael Busch on DraftKings, less so on FanDuel, especially on Michael Busch at just 3,000 despite his hot start. Both of those bats are very appealing against this opener and then whatever's coming out of the bullpen. 6 home runs on the board for Seiya Suzuki. He's been crushing the ball with a 264 ISO at 380 xwOBA. Premium contact galore at 16+% barrels. Double-digit barrel rate out of Busch so far as well. He's hit 5 home runs. He's also slashing 301, 370, 578, 368 xwOBA. Michael Busch has arrived fully in the show. Dansby, 43-29. Hit his 4th home run the other day when we talked about him. 3 stolen bases on the board. Front end of the triple slash looks really ugly at 180, 231. 360 looks ugly as well. But the 323 xwOBA is a little bit around the average. It suggests more will come around in terms of extra base hits, that the numbers will rise. 180 ISO, typically where he's about 8.6% barrels, 52.9% hard hits. This is more what I care about over here, the quality of contact. We just need to get the frequency back where it belongs. Nico Hoerner's just a mix and match guy with a little bit of speed to fill out a middle infield spot. Decent hit tool, but he's nothing special. Pete Crow Armstrong's been flashing the bat, though. 276, 324, 510. I talked about him yesterday. We're at 4 home runs, 8 stolen bases. Had a big day yesterday. 235 ISO on the season, a 131 WRC plus. Looking a lot more interesting as a hitter this year. So definitely excited to see the upswing continue. He's up to an 8.1% barrel rate as well. Carson Kelly's had a killer start, 50 plate appearances. He's hit 6 home runs. He's gotten on base at a 54% clip so far. That's not going to be sustained, but he's been mashing 18.8% barrel, 62.5% hard hits. Rosters from Carson Kelly at 48 on DraftKings, 34 on FanDuel. If you're going to the Cubs, you just hope that he's hitting further up here. Oh, we just got the lineup. Perfect. He's hitting 8th. John Birdie's hitting 9th. That's who was in the projected. I think it's the exact same lineup. Yeah, that looks the same. So I would greatly prefer him up here. I'll unwind my enthusiasm a little bit given that $4,800 price. There's probably better buys on DraftKings. But if you're going Cubs, I think he's in your second stack at worst if he's not in your first. And you do include him pretty enthusiastically, even at the higher price. He's just priced up for the start. But that's not a back-breaking price. It's just it doesn't really help with these three. You could build like a 1, 4, 5, 7, 8 that would definitely be a little bit oddball. 4,500 a piece. And that maintains decent amount of quality. 2 outfielders, a catcher, a first baseman, and a shortstop. It's not a bad way to spend those shares. 4.81 total against this pitcher. Cubs bats, Dodgers bats. No pitching. Oh, thanks, Larry. Larry was dropping those changes in the chat for me. I didn't have it up on the screen. Muncie. Oh, Kasparius is in now? That changes things. All right. Kasparius is really good. I just want to see, when did he pitch last? He's been pitching in a multi-inning relief role. Hey, he went 3 days ago. He went an inning and 2/3 3 days ago. We're probably only getting 2 innings out of Kasparius. I was hoping he hadn't pitched in like 4 or 5 days, and then maybe we had a shot at like 4 innings, maybe 5 innings. Probably not 5. That would have been a big stretch. But 4 could have been on the board. He went 2 appearances ago on the 16th. Struck out 3 Rockies. Allowed 1 earned run on 2 hits. Last time out, inning and 2/3, faced 5 hitters. Struck out just 1. But he's got pretty decent numbers. It's the quickest way I can do this. You know what? Let me just do this. So this is Kasparius, just to put his numbers on the board real quick, and he's only 4,000 on DraftKings, so now I am maybe considering that that's a dart throw. I'd love to be able to guarantee you a 3rd inning, and I don't know that I can. He's got that in his bag. I just don't know that he'd give it to him considering that he pitched 3 days ago. What's been the gap in his... So he went 2 on the 2nd, 2 on the 5th, 2 on the 8th. Then it was a 4-day to an inning and 2/3. Then it was another 4 days till he went 3. And then it was another 4 days till he went an inning and 2/3. And now we're only 3. This is our 3rd day off of that. So it's 2 days rest. I think we're probably stuck at 2 innings on Kasparius, which sucks because there's definitely at least interesting upside there. Probably less so against this Cubs team anyway. And I don't want to get too lost here. But you can see what Stuff Plus thinks of the Arsenal at 113. He's been good at checking power in the small sample, despite being a fly ball pitcher when guys are making contact against him. He's generated a monster 13.4% swinging strike rate, which is what I like a lot. 22.2% strikeouts against just a 4.8% walk in the small sample over 15 and a third. This is essentially 2-3 starts worth of pitching at 15 and a third innings. Because again, he's been working in a multi-inning relief role. Really interesting pitcher to keep in mind in the long term. If he ever ends up back in the starting rotation, that's another interesting spot for him. This is so tempting. If I was building 150 DraftKings lineups, I might throw a couple of darts at that and hope that I get that third inning. But it's really thin, and Chicago's really good. I still prefer the Cubs bats. I still would have the Dodgers bats second, and still would not actually take a pitcher. I wouldn't recommend a pitcher in this game. Let's put it that way. I might take one, but I might not recommend it. Speaking of pitchers I don't want, Ederman Marquez, 16 and a third over 4 starts, a 14% strikeout rate, a 10+% walk rate, an 8.27 ERA with a 4.93 xFIP underneath it. He has been getting crushed. Don't think we're going there. Even at 53, against a really good Royals lineup with an ability to limit strikeouts with excellent hit tools up and down the lineup. No Jonathan India today for the Royals, but you get Michael Garcia up in the lineup, in the top of the lineup, and he's been surging for everything we've been looking for from him. Really like Kansas City. Love the 5.24 implied total against the pushover pitcher. Not going to Ederman Marquez on either side. Michael Lorenzen, though, 73.82 against this lineup. I really like that option. I'll ignore a 17.7% strikeout rate. I won't worry about the 9.4% swinging, the 4.57 ERA with the 4.09 xFIP underneath it. I'll hope that he misses some barrels and continues to limit home runs like he has so far this year. Last year, 3.17% home runs allowed on moderate premium contact. Stuff Plus didn't love him then either, but he pitched to a 3.31 ERA, so he was a good results option, but not great under the covers. 4.95 xFIP against that. Just an 18% strikeout rate against 11% walks last year. This is not a good pitcher, but he's good enough to get through this team. He's good enough to find a few strikeouts against a team with a 30% strikeout rate this year. 27.7 for the same collection of hitters in a larger sample last year. They have, 1, 2, 3, 4 options in the confirmed lineup. Sub Mendoza so far. Everybody's extreme small sample. Nobody with more than 3 home runs, despite a couple of these guys being here specifically because they are power bats. 2 guys in the lineup above average for run creation so far. If you're ever going to find a win with Michael Lorenzen, today's the day. At least you've got a very, very strong chance at a cheap win bonus and some decent innings with a few Ks out of Michael Lorenzen. So 73 on DraftKings, love it. 82 on FanDuel, it's easily there. I think you could easily get to a 6th inning with Lorenzen here. Last time out, just 4 2/3 last time out. Gave up 4 earned on 7 hits. That was against Detroit at Detroit. Had a better start. 3 earned runs on 7 hits over 5 2/3 against Cleveland at Cleveland. Completed the 6th inning. Booked a quality start against Minnesota in a home game in Kansas City. Went 6. 1 earned run on 5 hits. 3 strikeouts. If you get that for your money, it's playable at 73. It's not ideal. You want more Ks. He struck out 7 Brewers in his first start. That's the kind of outing we're looking for. That's on the board today. 7 strikeouts would not surprise me here. Royals bats much more enthusiastically, but with the downside with Michael Lorenzen, a few sneaky Rocky stacks that nobody is really going to want. They're very, very cheap. They do flash a decent value mark on the DraftKings slate. I think so on FanDuel too, if I'm remembering correctly. It's up on the board. The issue there is Brenton Doyle being at 35 skews that a little bit. He's only 41 on DraftKings. Everybody else below 4,000. Deservedly so. This is not a good team, but this is an interesting player. Actually, Mickey Moniak is too, especially at price. Hunter Goodman's an interesting power bat. Michael Talia is an interesting power bat. If nothing else, they're making decent contact. 10.6% barrels, 42.6% hard hits out of Goodman so far. He's turned that into 3 home runs at 328 xWOBA, 176 ISO. We've got a ways to go to be the power hitter that he's supposed to be. But at least the contact's been all right. Talia mashed last season. So far this year, just 7.1% barrels, but he's maintained a 50% hard hit rate, an exact match to last year. So far, we're at just 184, 222, 263, just a 224 XWOB, but it's been a complete disaster. That's why he's only 3,400, 2,400 against a high contact righty. Little bit of upside given a bump in potential for making contact with this pitcher. Battaglia is also striking out at a 43.2% clip so far. That's up from 32% last year. McMahon, just for like the veteran lefty bat, who is, if you had to pick somebody who would be most probable to put bat on ball, in a weird sense, it is Ryan McMahon, but he's also striking out at a 38% clip this year. There's no actual reliability for that. 2 home runs on the board at 283 XWOB, but he's been a disaster, not helping these young guys. Nick Martini, Jordan Beck, Adil Amador, Aaron Shunk. At least several of those names are made up. Martini's flashed a little bit of power upside in a small sample over time. 5 home runs last year in 163, 6 home runs in 79 2 years ago. But that's really all he's shown. Jordan Beck is supposed to be a little bit of a player. We haven't got much at the major league level yet. 34 plate appearances this year, 184 empty plate appearances last year. That's a total meltdown and hasn't shown any improvement this year in the tiny sample. So you're just fishing down lineup here. Much more interested in the Royals. It's about the 1 through 6 really, though. You get a little playability for cheap prices around those bottom guys, but none of them are ideal options. Probably the most interesting out of the 3 guys at the very bottom is, to me, Freddie Fenderman for 2,100 on the DraftKings slate. This is a guy who, over 368 plate appearances last year, quietly went 271, 319, 366. Was only at a 91 WRC plus, only hit 6 homers, only had a .094 ISO. But if we're just fishing around for bat on ball, the year before, 281, 321, 461. He hit 9 homers in 235 that year. He's got 1 on the board this year. The slash line's not there. Nobody's going to go to him. So for 2,100, if you just want a spot filler at catcher, especially if you decide you're playing Sal at first base and skipping Vinny Pasquantino for reasons, it's a great way to cheapen up your lineup. That said, I very much want to play Sal at catcher because I want Vinny Pasquantino at first base on DraftKings. They're both sub-Mendoza by almost the exact same amount. They've both hit 2 home runs and scored 5 runs. They're both showing terrible on-base percentages, bad slugging percentages, terrible ISOs. One of them's got a ton of support from his ex-Woba that everything's going to be perfectly fine. The other, not so much. 289 for Vinny so far is at least a little concerning. If he just doesn't find that timing all season, that's going to be problematic because that is his game. Low strikeout, high frequency of contact, and high quality contact. We've seen very little of that this year. I'm not concerned yet, but we're going to approach concerned after another 100 plate appearances if it stays like this. Sal, again, I think everything will be fine. He's only hit 2 home runs. The results have been poor, but the quality of contact has been extremely high. The ex-Woba is fantastic, suggests everything's going to be fine. Bobby Witt's an absolute superstar, 61, 4,000. You just play him when you go to the Royals. He's a high priority shortstop, high priority one-off shortstop against this pitcher. It's going to be very popular, but we just don't care. There's just too much upside. 308, 381, 473, a 402 ex-Woba so far. He's hit 2 home runs. He's stolen 7 bases. He's a 30-30 guy last year. Michael Garcia at 4,200, second base and third base eligible. Just plunk him in at second base. That's ideal. Same thing on FanDuel. 2,800 at second base is perfect. Don't use up the third base share. Use that for a better power bat. Garcia's hit 2 home runs this year. He's sporting a 360 ex-Woba. He's made much better contact so far this year, basically doubling the barrel rate. He's up to 57.8% hard hits in a tiny sample. Not striking out. He's pushed the walk rate way up. These are all the improvements we were calling for on opening day for Michael Garcia. So far, knock on wood, over 86 plate appearances. It's looking very good. But it's one of those things that you don't want to talk about too much. Otherwise, it'll just run away. 42.28, great price. You get a little ugly around Kevin Biggio. 22 on both sites. You at least get 4 positions on FanDuel, but if I'm taking second base there, I don't want him at third. I don't want him at first. So now I'm putting him in the outfield. I think he's just another cheap outfielder at the absolute most. Same thing on DraftKings first base and outfield, even worse. 188, 316, 188 so far, a 289 ex-Woba over 39 plate appearances. This has been a guy who's just been a nothing at the plate over time. Last season, over 224, he was sub-Mendoza. The year before, over 338, he was at 235, 340, 370. At least he got on base that year. Created runs in a positive sense at a 103 WRC+. but only 9 homers, 5 stolen bases. This is not a priority bat in any way. Hunter Renfroe's been difficult to prioritize recently as well. 58 empty plate appearances so far this year. The power was out for most of last year. He clawed his way to 15 home runs in the long term, but that's not the power we expect from Hunter Renfroe. Just 20 in 548 opportunities in 2023. In the 3 seasons prior to that, he had hit, I forget what it was, 80 something. I said it like 37 times throughout last season while the power was out. But Hunter Renfroe, formerly an absolute masher. So in any given slate sense, taking a bat like that against a pitcher who's currently looking like this, I think there's tons of upside at 25, 23. He'd be my next priority after the top 4. And then Drew Waters, Kyle Isbell, just kind of mix and match guys. Royals bats, Michael Lorenzen, both very high priority. And then mix and match shares of Rockies bats. And I don't want to oversell Lorenzen. It's more about price and matchup than it is about his talent. Just be aware of that. It wouldn't completely stun me if the Rockies hit 2 home runs, scored 5, and blew up the spot today. Drew Deep Waters, synthetic chiming. Yeah, Sal's been quite unlucky this year so far. Lots of long flyouts that were hit hard. Yeah, I saw a couple of those. I've also got him. He's the primary catcher on the Dynasty team. So I am well aware of Sal's continuingly poor numbers. But if I remember correctly, he started out last season kind of similarly, where he was crushing the ball, but just getting a little bit unlucky, and then things rounded out, and he was perfectly fine. And we know what the ceiling seasons out of Sal can look like. Travis Duarte, considering the Uncle Festa chalk. Like it. Solid reference. Synthetic has got him too. Yes. Blue Jays, Stros. Let's see if we got these lineups in. We've got the Astros. It's looking a lot like usual. Chas McCormick appearance down the bottom, though. What are we getting at Chas so far this year? Not much. Maybe we're returned to the old version of Chas McCormick, where we're just getting that super cheap guy who from time to time can be interesting. He used to give us a lot of very low-owned barrels out of the 7, 8, 9 spot when nobody really knew who he was. And then he had like a little bit of a breakout 2 years ago. Over 457, he hit 22 home runs. He stole 19 bases, /273, 353, 489 that year, a monster 219 ISO, 133 WRC plus. Was looking like he was taking the next step to being a regular. Made just 267 plate appearances last year. He was hurt. He was in and out of the lineup. 211, 271, 306. Totally underperformed what the talent looks like. But it was a total mess last year. And in 23 plate appearances this year, it hasn't looked good. But if we get anything back toward his the old version of Chas McCormick, I think he's interesting now again. Like I was saying, at 24, 25, return to the bottom of the lineup. People won't go there. So that is at least something to keep in mind if you're going Astros. You wrap him back around the head of Altuve and Alvarez. Pretty decent little 3-man. He helps cheapen those guys up quite a bit. On DK, if you 3-man that, 4,100 apiece for Altuve and Jordan Alvarez. Yeah, you're paying up for Chas McCormick, obviously, but the average price comes way, way down. If you stretch that to a 5-man, honestly, with these prices here, apologies to Jeremy Pena, but I'm grabbing third and first right there for 39 and 38. This lineup is stupid cheap for their talent. That's a 5-man with a $4,000 price tag per that includes Altuve, Alvarez, Christian Walker, and then for whatever they're worth, Isaac Paredes and Chas McCormick. You could leave Paredes out of it, and you could take $3,100 Jainer Diaz and ride his slump as well. And now we're at $3,860 a man for a stack that continues to include the 2 superstars plus Christian Walker, who is a star caliber hitter, even though he's not going like it. Those DraftKings prices on the Astros are super, super interesting if you're including options from the bottom of the lineup to average the price down like that. All 3 of these guys have underperformed so far. But Mauricio Dubon's got a little bit of talent. He's also multi-position eligible to second base, which is good, but not great because you're probably putting Altuve there. First base and outfield on Zach DeZenzo, who's barreled the ball at a 20% clip so far. Hasn't seen much in terms of productivity from it over his 20 plate appearances. Last year, he had 2 home runs and 65 plate appearances. He had an 84 WRC plus, a 129 ISO. Not much of an option so far. But again, another player down lineup. It's just, I'd much rather have Christian Walker at first base, and then he's just another cheap outfielder. So for me, I'm kind of just snagging the McCormick. I'll snag the direct connection back up to the top a couple times around and see what we get. Against Bowden Francis, there's plenty of playability in this Astros lineup. Francis continues to outperform his talent. 3.13 ERA, but a glaring 4.04 xFIP underneath that stands out immediately. That's not a tragic number, but it completely defies the low 3.13 ERA, and that's exactly what he was doing through last year. 3.30 ERA with a 4.17 xFIP, 22.5% strikeout rate. In fact, you could say he looks exactly like he did last year, except with a lower swinging strike rate, a few more walks, better CSW so far. There's a lot more home runs so far, but he had a very high home run rate last year. A lot of premium contact on an extreme 18.9 degree fly ball trajectory. Year before, in a 36 inning sample all in relief, he allowed a fair amount of home runs on similar kind of trajectory. Again, got super lucky, 1.73 ERA, but a 4.17 xFIP. Was better for K's in the relief role, but we see that all the time. Guys can work up a little bit more. So I continue to not fully believe in the pitcher. At 78, he's worth a few darts, even against this good Astros lineup. There are, as we've discussed, more strikeouts in this lineup now, especially this configuration of this lineup. But I would question the absolute ceiling of the play. If he gets it all popular, I think you can dip around and go to other options at similar upside, similar price range. At 87 on FanDuel, it's a concerning option. I'm not saying he can't succeed. You can get there with Bowden Francis in this spot on FanDuel, but it's a lot tighter at that price. He's gone 6. He's gotten near the quality start twice. Most recently against Seattle, he went 6. He allowed 1 earned run on 5 hits. He struck out 5. He walked 1. 3 earned runs over 5 2/3 and 2 earned runs over 5 1/3 against Baltimore and the Mets, both on the road in his middle starts. First start of the year, he also went 6, also booked a quality start. 4 strikeouts, but 3 walks, allowed 2 homers in that one. 2 games so far this season with 2 home runs allowed. He's allowed 5 total in his 4 starts. So a bit of a power out problem. That brings me right back to Jordan Alvarez at a 15.35. Now that I'm spotting that, I actually should have made him the home run pick of the day. If I had processed that correctly earlier, I would have made him the home run pick of the day because I absolutely love Alvarez. Isaac Paredes at 8.68. He hit his 4th of the year. Anytime, as we've talked about all year, that he's going to be in this ballpark, we've got a shot at that affordable home run. And he's got upside for seeing some plate appearances, getting on base, being some correlated scoring option down to Christian Walker, Jainer Diaz. Jeremy Pena hitting cleanup is a weird fit, but he's delivered 3 home runs, 5 steals. He's made good contact this year with 11.4% barrels and 47.1% hard hit rate, neither of which is at all characteristic for him. I suspect we're going to crater pretty quickly, but the 372 xWOBA kind of flies in the face of me thinking that. So we'll see where we land. Very low strikeout so far at 14.9%. That's also going to give Bowden Francis problems. Again, this top end where the good hitters are in this lineup, very difficult to strike out. Walker at 38.26. Love the upside. 2 home runs, the 188 to 286. We just ignore. 11.3% barrels is good enough, and it'll go higher over the course of time. He'll be fine. So concerning spot here, but very playable at that price. Ryan Gusto at 72.73. He's striking out 24.6% of hitters so far, 4.3% walk rate. He's got a 3.18 ERA with a 3.68 xFIP underneath it. He's only made 2 starts, 4 inning start and a 5 inning start. Struck out 6 Angels over the 4 innings, allowed 3 earned runs with a home run allowed. Over 5 innings, he allowed 2 earned runs on 9 hits to the Padres. Padres are that kind of team. No home run allowed, but only struck out 2. Padres are also that kind of a team. The other outings came in relief. A couple 2-inning stints, a 3-inning game, and a 1-inning game. Struck out 4 in 2 of those appearances. Was very, very good in relief. Has been a little bit bumpier in the starting role, but has been effective. I think we could see some upside here, but the concern remains the same thing with the Blue Jays that we've talked about the last couple of days. They're pretty low strikeout. There's not a ton of upside outside of them being a top-heavy team. We have the confirmed lineup in. Let me grab it. .6% strikeout rate for this confirmed version of the lineup. You don't have that many great targets for strikeouts. He could obviously find some against Santander, against George Springer in the heart of the lineup, but both Bo Bichette and Vladdy are very difficult to strike out. Andres Jimenez at 18.6%, that's pretty realistic, if not slightly high, given last year's 15-3. Looks a lot like 2 years ago, but that's a really good mark. Alejandro Kirk is always around this kind of a number at 13.9. So it's realistically a low strikeout team. It's just the overall quality that they can put up there is not extreme. So we're not drawn to the Blue Jays. 4.28 implied totals, just kind of middle of the board today. And if you go there, it's just the top of the lineup and the super obvious guys. But I don't know that that equals go to Ryan Gusto in any way. 7,200 is cheap, a few darts maybe, but they're low quality darts given the lack of strikeout potential. So I don't love it. Projects out toward the bottom of the board. A few, again, Blue Jays stacks from the top end are fine, especially with like Anthony Santander priced at 4,000, 2,800. 10.94 in the home run model. Still a big believer in that power bat. 2 home runs on the board, a disastrous 269 xWOBA, 67 WRC plus, slashing 196, 265, 304. That is not who we expected him to be. That's not the player that the Blue Jays wanted to spend their money on. They were trying to buy the guy who hit 44 home runs last year, who had a 506 slug, a 271 ISO, 129 WRC plus for the season. He'll be back. He's too good not to be. We're probably not returning to those numbers now, but the power will come back. Vladdy at 4,800, 3,000 is a ridiculous buy. 278, 377, 378. Take advantage of the cheap prices. He's a much better player than those prices and has not been far off the mark, given a 422 xWOBA, 12.2% barrels, 58.1% hard hits. Bo Bichette looking really good. 298, 333, 339, 375, 389 xWOBA suggests there's even more to come. Low strikeout, low walk, tons of good contact, 48.3% hard hits so far. Jimenez now at least in the 5 spot instead of the 4 spot. Makes a little bit more sense to me. Springer, though, is interesting. 2 home runs, 4 steals. He's mashing the ball. He's getting on base a ton. 177 WRC plus. Could be time to maybe reconsider returning him up toward the top of the lineup and mixing this back up again a little bit. See if you can lengthen it artificially by just reconfiguring where guys are. But he's off to a great start, looking like the old George Springer. And then it falls apart. Addison Barger, Will Wagner, Alan Roden down toward the bottom of the lineup. There's no appeal there. 1 home run combined for the 3 players. Barger's only made 16 plate appearances this season. Last year we saw him for 225. He wasn't interesting at all. 197, 250, 351, 7 home runs, 2 steals. He's supposed to be better than that, but so far, very little to support it. He's only 2,100, 2,000, but he's just another cheap outfielder. I don't think you want him at third base. Wagner at 212, 293, 250 with a 280 xWOBA. Roden even worse with a 226 xWOBA. He's going to lose that job. 71 terrible plate appearances after breaking camp with the team. This is very much Astros bats. And then everything else is tied. I got to go to Bowden Francis. He's the higher projected. So Astros bats, Bowden Francis against them. Then the Blue Jays bats, and then Ryan Gusto darts. Didn't mean to skip this game. Low end as it may be. Bunch of people here watching. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't before. The website is rotoscouts.com. Everything's priced under $1 a day to get you access to all these baseball projections, plus NBA projections through the playoffs, NHL projections through the playoffs. All of that included for under $1 a day, weekly, monthly, quarterly plans. The reason we're priced so affordably, everybody that I've ever talked to in the industry, everybody we've done surveys for back when I was at Awesemo in those places, building a handful of lineups. The 150 maxers, they're out there. They're few and far between. All of this shit works for them too. It's perfect for 150 maxing. But if you're building 1 lineup, 5 lineups, 20 lineups, we're here to cater to you. We're here to help keep money in your bankroll and build your bankroll. You don't need to be paying hundreds and hundreds of dollars across multiple sports for projections. White Sox on the board, 3.33 implied total for them going up against David Festa. We love the Festa option, 26.3% Ks over his 2 starts, 9 innings. We talked about the short starts. It's a little bit of a concern. We were at 70 some odd pitches in the most recent one. If we hit 85 against this White Sox team, and I think that's probably the cap today, we're at least getting 5 as long as things go well. 6 innings is a stretch, but maybe we get there. He's very cheap to find out, and he projects great for upside. So I think he's super playable on FanDuel, even if he doesn't get the quality start. The win will be critical then. The quality start would be nice to have, but he's a very important pitcher on both sides. Going to be very popular at 8,800 on DraftKings. Monster prospect pitcher for them. We're seeing a ton of upside out of him already. Again, 6 strikeouts over 4 1/3, 5 hits, but no runs against the Mets, and no earned runs. 1 run on 3 hits over 4 2/3 against a good Tigers team. 4 strikeouts in that one. So two good starts in the show. Stuff Plus hasn't really been there at 97. He made 13 starts last year. He had a 27.8% strikeout rate. This is the right, yeah. 27.8% strikeout rate, 4.90 ERA, but the 3.58 xFIP stands out underneath it. So does the 12.8% swinging strike rate at the major league level. Very talented pitcher against the worst lineup in baseball. I don't think we're taking shots even against what will be a popular festa with the White Sox lineup just because of how empty they are. It's Lubob and really nobody else, and even Lubob's not going well. So, like, what are we buying? Josh Palacios in the top spot in the lineup. You don't even have Chase Meadroth. He went on the IL. So we're starting with Joshua Palacios, ending with Jacob Maya. In the middle, we've got Andrew Benintendi, Lubob, who's only 4,200 and 2,900 because he's at 151, 267, 260, a 319. xWOBA is at least around the average, but we've got a lot of work to do. He's at least barreled the ball 11.8% of the time. Benintendi's barreled the ball 13.6% of the time in a few batted ball events over his 58 plate appearances and hit a weird 4 home runs. That's not his game. He's a contact hitter unless he's gone out there and made a fundamental change. And I don't think that's the case. I think we're just looking at a little bit of happenstance there around a mediocre hitter. Edgar Quero at 2,600 is at least cheap if you want to grab a very cheap catcher bat in a good spot in a lineup. There's maybe some value upside there, but there's nothing else. There's no actual upside there. Andrew Vaughn would be nominally the second most talented hitter in this lineup at 28-26. He's at 145, 184, 277. 320 xWOBA's around the average, 3 home runs. Nothing to see here, folks. Matt Thace, Miguel Vargas, Brooks Baldwin, Jacob Maya, all skippable. You at least get a little multi-position for very cheap, but these are not good options. Bryce Wilson, I think we're getting like 3. Where is he? He last pitched on the 18th at Fenway, went an inning, allowed an earned run. He's pitched entirely in relief this season. They're stretching him out to start here, but it's looked at as more like a bulk kind of a role. They haven't changed let me make sure of that. Yeah, still Bryce Wilson listed. Everybody this morning was referring to him as a bulk reliever, but it looks like he's going to be on the mound to open the game. I think, again, we're getting like 3. He's a very low strikeout guy, 4.50 ERA with a 4.49 xFIP over those 12 relief innings. And again, it's usually we see strikeout rate go down. We see pitchers perform worse when they pitch in starting role. He's also got a 7.55% home run rate in that tiny sample. Last year, over 9 starts, 104 and 2/3 in the hybrid role, 4.04 ERA, but a 4.61 xFIP. He did have a better strikeout rate, but it was only 18.6%, just an 8% swinging strike rate, nearly 9, 25.9% CSW, allowed a ton of power and home runs. Everything here speaks to a good day for the Twins. 5.28 implied total. You avoid Bryce Wilson, even for 5,000 on DraftKings. There's just no ceiling there. And you probably invest in some Twins bats. Edouard Julien hits the ball very, very hard. Always has. That is his primary attribute and really his only skill that's been on display at the major league level. 203, 246, 313 so far this year, a 60 WRC plus. Last year, 199, 292, 323 with an 80 WRC plus over 301 plate appearances. He had 8 home runs in that sample last year. He hit 1 so far this year. A couple years ago in 408, he hit 16 home runs. He managed to slash 263, 381, 459. Not sure what he was drinking that year, but it was probably the same thing that Tommy Edmonds drinking. He's very cheap. He's barreling the ball at a 12.5% clip so far this year, 45.8% hard hits. I'm a buyer at 31.22. That's a great option to start off this lineup. Very flawed. Might put several zeros in your lineup, but could deliver a very big day up top. Byron Buxton for 46, their most expensive player by a mile on DraftKings. Literally by 1,000. The next most expensive is Carlos Correa, who's a bargain at 3,600. That's a great purchase. Wow. Same thing on FanDuel. His 3,600. The next most expensive player is Ty France at 28. Cheap upside for the Twins at this run total. This is another one. I don't know that I fully appreciated the absurd value we're getting out of the Twins today. So Buxton delivering a 16.4% barrel, 56.4% hard hits. He's hit 4 home runs. All Byron Buxton needs to reclaim his mantle as a star caliber hitter is just 600 plate appearances, just a fully healthy season, and we'll get there. So far, it's been all right. 336 xWOB is encouraging. A 220 ISO is great. 103 WRC plus. Work to do in the slash line, but I think we get there. He's scored a ton of runs. He's been involved like crazy. Luke Keeschel, interesting day yesterday after we talked about him on the show. 3,000 at second base on DraftKings. More importantly, on FanDuel, just 2,000. That's a reasonable option as an alternative to $2,200 Edward Julian. You can also play those guys together. Honestly, if you put one of those guys at the util spot, there's enough power here and there's enough of a hit tool there to equal like 1.5 good hitters and make it okay. And the discount you get there is extreme. That makes that 3-man, what, 2,600 a man? And it's a very capable 3 hitters. If you extend for Carlos Correa at short, you're at 2,600 a man because he's also 26, moron. Sometimes I should do the math as I'm talking. So just a ton of good purchases here for the Twins lineup. They're going to be popular at these prices, though. 2,900 on Trevor Larnach. You get a lot of high-quality bat on ball out of him. 18.2% strikeouts, a lot of walks so far this year. Just 2 homers, just at 200, 307, 293, just 303 xWOBA. But I believe in the bat. I think there's more quality to come. 10.1% barrels, 45.1% hard hits last year, 13.3 and 49.6 the year before. He's too good a hitter to linger in this territory, and he's very, very cheap against a nothing righty. Correa at 36.26. Ignore the 184, 244, 303. I'll show you guys this one more time, and then I promise I won't do it anymore. I don't actually promise that. 367 plate appearances, essentially a full half season last year. 310, 388, 517 with a 207 ISO and 14 home runs. That is a all-star. Carlos Correa is just cheap. He's still very, very good. We just ignore everything he's done so far this year and hope that that's actually true. I think somebody just got shot outside. 3,100 for Ty France, 2,800 for Ty France on FanDuel. A playable piece. Not my favorite bat here, but an effective line drive bat. He's got a decent hard hit rate so far this year, 7.53, nothing in the home run model against the soft righty. Ryan Jeffers, there's tons of power upside there. For 3,500 as a cheap catcher, you could one-off that on DraftKings and be okay. I think you could play him easily instead of Ty France on FanDuel in the first base slot and just rotate those two guys. 9.09 tells you the difference in terms of the power upside. He's yet to homer this year. Could be a good day. Brooks Lee, Harrison Bader, mix and match pieces at worst for fair prices down lineup. Enthusiastically, David Festa, Twins bats essentially tied. Either way, those are the top 2 options by a mile. Wouldn't roster anything really from the White Sox outside of just pure, just laying it out on the table and knowing I'm going to lose kind of, and it's going to be different kind of shares. That's all you really get. Handful of games to go. Love the power upside we're seeing here. This superstar is the home run pick of the day. Going up against a pitcher that we have targeted for a long time for the power output that he allows. So far, no confirmed lineups here. There's no denying when he's going right. Andrew Heaney is a good pitcher. He's always been decent for strikeout upside. He can give you a very clean game. He's pitched to a 2.13 ERA with a solid 3.49 xFIP underneath it, over 25 1/3 this year in 4 starts. Pitching to a 22.4% strikeout rate, just a 6.1% walk rate. Had a dominant start against the Yankees in his second outing of the year. Went 7 against the Yanks, allowed 1 earned run on 5 hits. He struck out 10 in that one. Petted his numbers a little bit. 6 strikeouts in the next game against Cincinnati at Cincinnati. Allowed 4 earned runs with a homer allowed. Struck out 6 but walked 2. Still got through 6 innings, though. They're going to let him eat innings. 7 1/3 in his most recent start against the Nationals, who do walks, no earned runs on 5 hits. Nice deep start there. So there's upside on the Heaney side of this one. I wouldn't take it away from him. He projects out just fine. I just don't love him at price on FanDuel. I think what you'll probably get is a lower owned Heaney. Former Angel too, by the way, if you believe in revenge. I don't. I mean, I believe in revenge, but like taking my revenge. I don't believe that you can quantify that for baseball purposes. At 8,100, though, the point is Andrew Heaney is a very, very playable option on DraftKings. There is upside there. I am, though, more interested in the Angels' bats. Maybe he was a dick in the clubhouse and they all want to take revenge on him. Who knows? But I love the power upside we're seeing against a pitcher who we've targeted in the long term for power. We've got a ton of solid righty power on this team. Taylor Ward at 9.33. Mike Trout, the home run pick of the day at 14.10 with 8 already in his pocket. A 316 ISO, a 426 xWOBA, 20% barrels out of Mike Trout so far this year. Love it. Another guy just needs to stay healthy. Just one good, healthy year. Come on. Jorge Soler for just 43.29 is a bargain for his power. And by the way, he's quietly returning to form after, I want to say it was a slow start. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I feel like I was saying like, we're not really there. We're at 263, 322, 463 with a 200 ISO, a 327 xWOBA. He's created runs 24% better than average. We've got 4 home runs on the board. And most notably, we're up to a 15.4% barrel, 42.3% hard hit. The premium contact galore out of Jorge Soler. We could go on a big run for power with this hitter. So very interested in those two bats. I like the price. Brings you down to 51.50 there. Brings you down to 3,300 for the 2-man on FanDuel. And obviously, we've got a lot of options to build with. Zach Neto, I mentioned him yesterday, coming back to this lineup. Over 14 plate appearances. We got a home run on the board already. He had a great year last year. He's only 4,000 at short on DraftKings. I'm very interested in that option. 31 on FanDuel. I'm interested. He hit up lineup yesterday. Luis Renifo was out of the lineup. He's questionable. He's got a red tag or whatever you want to call that for today. We'll see. Day to day. That was the word I was searching for. We'll see whether we get Renifo. We might get Neto up here either way. I'm more interested in Neto if he's hitting up toward the top of the lineup, but I'm still very interested down lineup. And in that scenario, you might get him a little bit low owned. And he's very cheap for his talent. 7.43 in the home run model. Joe Adell down lineup, 3,300. Out of the guys down at the bottom here, Kyron Paris and Joe Adell, despite what their output has been early in the season, Adell is actually the guy that you want. He's the more talented of the two. He's the guy with the better bat. 2 home runs on the board, 226, 273, 387, a 343 xWOBA. Kyron Paris still sitting at 273, 365, 600 with a 400 xWOBA, 5 homers, 5 steals, but all of that came in the first couple of weeks, and he's been rapidly cratering. I forget what he did last night, so forgive me if he had a good night last night, but I still believe in Joe Adell a lot more than Kyron Paris. The heart of this lineup is very high quality. You get a ton of power in the leadoff spot out of Taylor Ward, even if he's miscast in that role overall with the on base this year. 6 home runs on the board. Think he did hit one yesterday. And then Logan O'Hoppe, ton of power from a affordable catcher at 4,500, 33,000 on FanDuel, playing like he's their first baseman. Nolan Shanuel lacks the power upside, but an excellent on base option, only 3,600, 2,700 for correlated scoring, especially if you have Neto and Adell following him. If you just like 3-man that, if you just need a cheap, high quality home run upside 3-man across those specific positions, 3,600 a piece for those 3 bats. That's not bad. You get Shanuel on base 3 times and opportunities for Neto and Adell to drive them in. I don't mind the upside there. You're obviously going down lineup for it, but you're just cheap. You're value hunting at that point, and you've bought 2 great pitchers and a premium 5-man. A lot upside on the Angel side, 4.83 implied total. If you're going Pirates, they're only going up against Jack Janowitz, who has an 11.2% strikeout rate this season in 4 starts, carrying a 6.20 ERA with a 5.07 xFIP. No relief from that number. 1.48 whip is too much. 4.49% home runs is too much. 9.9% barrels, and so on and so on and so on. This is a very targetable pitcher. 4.27 implied runs. I'm not sure the Pirates are quite getting their due here. They'd be looking a little bit better if this was, more like 4.5 upper 4s. Not sure they deserve that, but there are some interesting bats here. O'Neal Cruz in the top spot, most notably. Obviously, as I've said multiple times, burgeoning superstar. We're seeing the breakout season. Is Jack Suwinski hurt? Or is he active? I know he hasn't been good, but I think he's active. Pretty good chance Suwinski would be in this lineup somewhere, but we'll see. We'll see what we get. I think they would just give him a shot against a guy like Chichanowicz to get him going. I don't see anything about him not being available. But anyway, regardless, O'Neal Cruz at 5,800, 3,800, 5 home runs, 10 stolen bases, a 352 on base, a 393 xWOBA, career runs 23% better than average on mashing baseballs. big buyer against this pitcher. Brian Reynolds at just 45.29, 3 homers. The slash line is normalizing 263, 330, 400. He's out of 359 xWOB. He's made great contact as well. Look at all these barrels across these top 4 hitters. I talked specifically yesterday about Emmanuel Valdez and Joey Bart and their ability to barrel the baseball. Last year, 9.2, 9.4% barrels respectively. Those are 2 interesting bats for very cheap prices down lineup. I love the option for Emmanuel at second base on both sites. First base is not where I would want him on DraftKings. Outfield is reasonable on FanDuel, but you've already got 2 outfielders right here that you want to prioritize. Depends on what you do with O'Neal Cruz if you put him in the outfield as well. Andrew McCutchen, I believe, hit a home run yesterday, or maybe it was 2 days ago. He's got 2 on the board. He's got a 333 xWOB, but he still hits the ball very hard, 10.9% barrels, 50% hard hits. Still going to be low strikeout. He's going to draw his walks. Love the upside from McCutchen as long as that price stays down, and there's no reason to think that it'll go up. Ke'Bryan Hayes, not much of a bat, but he can square the ball up in terms of hitting line drives. Right now, he's getting kind of unlucky. The contact's been good right around his standard, 47.7% hard hits. Just doesn't really barrel enough balls. He's fairly low strikeout at 18%. He can draw his walks. He can get involved, but really bad 88 plate appearances so far this season. We expect a lot more. He's just kind of like Pete Crow Armstrong. He's lucky he plays Gold Glove defense. Although, again, Crow Armstrong has gotten interesting at the plate in a hurry. Adam Frazier, IKF, mix and match pieces at the absolute best. Tommy Pham's been terrible this year, was kind of washed last year. You're just chasing counting stat upside, and it's probably counting stat upside from 2 years ago and beyond. So don't know that we go Tommy Pham. That might be where we see Jack Suwinski. Angels bats, Pirates bats. Andrew Heaney darts on DraftKings are playable. No Kachanowicz, even at price, even against this Pirates team. Oh, thank God. That is great news, Lair. Max Extra Crispy Muncie, option to the minors. No more issues working with the 2 Max Muncies. Now, if we can only get rid of the other Wilmer Flores, and we can move the Athletics back to Oakland. Oh, Tango Hotel. The Twins are absolutely one of those teams. Every time they look good, they fail. Now, I was saying the other day in Discord, the Orioles are in danger of slipping into that territory for us, given their success rate lately. But yeah, the Twins have been that team for me for years. That's why I love guys and always reference those guys from the bottom of that lineup, because of how frequently I went to that team and how frequently those were the guys that succeeded, like the Michael A's, the Kyle Farmers, and so on. But it's a team that, there's a lot of appeal on paper. No Wallner sucks. When's he due back? How long is he out for? Just on the 10-day, it's a hamstring strain. Probably a couple more weeks. That's a very key bat for that lineup's true upside. All right, Taj Bradley on the bump for the Rays going up against the Diamondbacks. Erod on the bump for the Diamondbacks going up against the Rays. 4.13 implied total for Tampa Bay, 4.98 for Arizona. Erod's looked great this season so far. We've seen him do similar things in the past. 4.09 ERA, but a 2.46 xFIP underneath it. A 30.2% strikeout rate with a 6.3% walk. Just 10.2% swinging is floating around the average. He's allowed too many men on base with a 1.36 whip, but it's not coming via walks at 6.3%. He's also been great at avoiding premium contact, just 4.9% barrels. Erod is a talented pitcher when everything is going right. He's just very, very fragile. He's very much a roller coaster. You get an absolutely awful start, you could get a gem against this lineup. 23.5% strikeout rate supports the upside. Would play on either site. Don't love the price on either site. I would hope that keeps him very low owned. I want Erod in like sub 5% ownership territory if I'm playing him. I don't know if we get him. Let's see. Come on. Why does this disappear every time they upload it? Nope, not going to be that low owned on DraftKings. You give him, I guess, a little bit more room on DK. He's like 3 times that. It's just a tough price for a low faith pitcher. He is sub 10% on FanDuel, not quite where I said, but I guess he's playable in that range. Taj is the interesting one against a very good Diamondbacks lineup with a lot of options on the board that looks similar. 85 is the more playable number, obviously. 95 is a stretch on FanDuel. He projects out great because he's got a lot of strikeout talent. Very good stuff. Yeah, sneeze burn. 12% swinging strike rate so far. A 25.3% strikeout rate is good, but he's walking too many hitters at 10.5%. He's allowing way too many guys on base. He's allowed a little bit of power on a fly ball trajectory. But the stuff is very real. He's a very talented kid. 26.6% strikeouts over 138 innings and 25 starts last year. The walk rate was manageable at 8%, but there was too much premium contact going on, especially on the 13.3 degree average launch. So he lost a few home runs, but you can see right there what Stuff Plus thinks of the arsenal. So the Ks, the swinging strikes, the whiffs, the ability to miss bats, all very, very real. Just needs to wrangle it, really needs to harness it all. Not the day I would really go chasing. 5.24 ERA with a 3.78 xFIP under it. It's probably a day that this is the more true number, just given the talent that's in this lineup. We have the confirmed version of that lineup, by the way. Come on. Lousy fingers. So starting on the D-back side, taking shots at Taj Bradley. We're hoping for a little bit of slip in terms of making a mistake and getting some fly balls in the air and get one out with some of these quality power bats. We've got a few really interesting lefties for that. Pavin Smith, Josh Naylor, obviously in the top spot, Corbin Carroll. He's the top priority bat from this team. Duh. But you've got really good options going down at least to the 6th spot and then 3 playable guys down lineup. No, 2 playable guys. Jose Herrera, not much of a bat, although he does have a home run on the board. Just 1 in 114 plate appearances last year and 0 in 120 the year before. I believe those samples a little bit more than the 28 with 1 home run from this year. That'll be the one that he hits. Tao has given us a 378 xWOBA over his 36 plate appearances. He's also hit 3 home runs and stolen 2 bases in the tiny sample, barreling the ball at a 12.5% clip, still priced at $3,000 at an ideal second base, $2,400 on FanDuel. Get him while Ketel Marte still absent. Alec Thomas, mix and match quality outfielder, a little bit of pop, a little bit of speed. He's stolen 3 bases on the season. As long as he's getting on, he's always playable, but he's in no way a priority. Going up the lineup, we've got a 10.35 on Eugenio Suarez for home run power, 3,100 at third base, great upside there, 4,500, same thing on DraftKings, 18% barrels, 60% hard hits. We only really care about the batted ball events with Suarez because he's flailing otherwise a lot of the time. 152, 264, 418, but he's hit 6 home runs. He's got a 357 xWOBA and a 266 ISO. It's an ideal lower owned option from later in this lineup. He never really gets the quality of ownership that he deserves outside of the first few days of the season when he ripped 5 out of those 6 home runs. Lourdes Gurriel at 38.27. Solid mix and match piece despite the underperformance to start his year. 305 xWOBA is a little bit below average, but at least supports the idea that those numbers in his slash line are going to go up. He's hit 4 home runs. We've got a lot of track record suggesting he's going to be a effective 12 to 15 home run, hit you around 270 for the season kind of a guy. He's got work to do, obviously, to get back to that level. Josh Naylor has hit 4 home runs. He's also slashing 341, 410, 545 with a 375 xWOBA. Very good marks for hard hits, 45.7%. Needs to find his barrels again, but the power's been fine and the output's been really, really strong for Naylor. 51.33 is a fair price. Pavin Smith, if anything, is a little cheap at 47, 3,000 on FanDuel. Love the ability to pop him into the outfield on the FanDuel slate so you don't have to occupy the util spot with one of these guys. DraftKings, it sucks that there's the positional conflict there. They could give you the outfield eligibility on Smith. He's got 4 home runs, also got a 410 xWOBA. He's created runs 137% better than average over his 70 plate appearances. In and out of the lineup, but any day that he's there, you absolutely want to grab him for a fair price. 9.65 in the home run model today. Corbin Carroll at 11.98. He's hit 7 out of the park this season, a 433 xWOBA. And then you've got Geraldo Perdomo sitting there with his ability to get on base, set the table for the guys behind him. I continue to think you should probably go Perdomo and then Carroll, but Carroll's kind of entrenched in the leadoff spot, and he's spectacular for that skill set as well. It's just kind of, you need him to do something than Perdomo, and then you're relying further down the lineup on less reliable hitters to capitalize on those opportunities. But anyway, nobody really cares about the construction of the Diamondbacks lineup. Those are your priority bats right there, those top 6. But again, 2 playable options to help cheapen things up. And with Gurriel and Suarez priced where they are, it's not bad if you go there. Let's say Smith instead of Naylor, Carroll, And then maybe we cheapen things up by grabbing Tim Tawa. Right, so we've got what 1, 3, 5, 6, 8 for 4,400 a man, 4,460. It's viable. On the Rays side, I do think you could target a little bit of Erod. The issue there is some of their better bats are left-handed. Jonathan Aranda is still in the lineup, lefty, 4,600, 3,100. He's slashing 344, 442, 656 so far. He's got a 481 xWOB. He's been absolutely crushing the ball. Let's see what he's done lefty. 15 plate appearances against same-handed pitching so far this year. We are at 100, 400, 100, a 0 ISO, 4% worse than average creating runs. In the longer term, we're at 50 plate appearances career, same-handed against lefties, and we're slashing 125, 300, 175, 0.050 ISO, and a 58 WRC plus. So in the very small sample, Aranda has suffered a little bit in same-handed matchups. This is not the confirmed version of the lineup, by the way. So we'll see if we get him. Brandon Lau, not even in the confirmed version or the projected version of the lineup because he's typically out of the lineup against lefties and decent strikeout lefties like Erod. So wouldn't necessarily expect him. You get a ton of power upside out of Chris Morel from the right side of the plate, 18.2% barrel rate so far. We've talked about that swing speed and high frequency of fast swings. 332 xWOBA supports the power upside. So does what we've seen from him over the past couple seasons, but he's wildly inconsistent. Erod could get him 3 times with the Ks, 41.2% strikeout so far this season. Junior Caminero, another burgeoning star, 4,300. Get him while he's cheap. 256, 295, 476. That's all going to go up. He's hit 5 home runs. He's got a 365 xWOBA, 220 ISO on the season, 11.3% barrels and 53.2% hard hits. He's just easily 500 too cheap. He should at minimum be like 4,800 on DraftKings right now. Yandy Diaz at 41.27 continues to be a bargain for his slow start. 213, 257, 351. We know for sure that Yandy Diaz is better than that. Curtis Mead, 28-24, I suspect is better than 138, 265, 172, but I wouldn't say I know it for sure. 312 xWOBA suggests that we're going at least upward from these numbers. So does a 10.5% barrel rate. So does what we saw from him in spring, but it's been a struggle so far in the regular season. At least you got second base eligibility, but you've got a lot of options at second base on FanDuel from this team. He's the only second baseman, oddly, on DraftKings, though. Danny Jansen for 28-25. Mix and match quality with a little power upside at catcher. 2,800 on DraftKings. You could do worse as a value play. 6.99 in the home run model. It's only got 1 on the season. He's got a 254 xWOBA. He hit 9 in 324 chances last year. He did have 17 in 301 chances 2 years ago. So maybe a little bit of sneaky power against Erod here. And then Jake Mangum, just a little bit of hit to a little bit of speed. He's a 348, 394, 409. I've already trashed him enough times. Jose Caballero, you get a little bit of speed upside. And Chandler Simpson, we'll see if we get him in the lineup. He's left-handed, but he's an extreme hit tool upside kid. They might throw him in there lefty-lefty. He's already stolen 2 bases. We're just looking for hits, base hits, and stolen bases and correlated scoring. I would love to have him back at the top of the lineup, but that's John D's spot. Diamondbacks bats. Rays bats. Tie between Taj Bradley and Erod on DraftKings. I'll give it to Bradley just because he's cheaper. Cheaper, more highly projected. So you got to go that way. And then on FanDuel, dicey. I'll give it to Erod because he's a little bit cheaper, even though Bradley's more highly projected. I think you've probably got a little bit more safety, and that's a very loose term when it comes to this pitcher, on Rodriguez, and you've probably got a slightly higher true ceiling on Bradley. I don't know if I even believe that. The ceiling's really close. Anyway, kind of a 4-corner spot in this one. Last 2 games up, Brewers and the Giants. We have no lineups here. This is the best pitching matchup of the day. Both these guys are going to be very, very popular. 352 implied total on San Francisco, 306 on the Brewers. I would rather have Logan Webb, but it's very, very close. Freddie technically projects out slightly better for slightly less money. He's got a 28.9% strikeout rate on the season. Logan Webb checking in with 32.8 over 5 starts. 30 innings out of Logan Webb. He's one of the better options for quality starts, for just general depth of pitching. Freddie's right there too, though. 28 and a third over his 5 starts. 1.91 ERA is spectacular. 3.59 xFIP is more realistic, but very good at keeping runners off base. 102 whip so far this season, inducing a 16.6% swinging strike rate. Freddie Peralta, every bit the ace on deck there. The one thing that you get more from Freddie that you don't get at all from Logan Webb is fly ball opportunities. So if we're looking for which one of these teams is a little bit more threatening to do damage against the pitcher, it would be the Giants against Freddie's ability to allow too many fly balls. 21.4 degree average launch so far. And it's not problematic, just a 2.63% home run rate. Darling of Stuff Plus. He avoids premium contact, keeps hard hits low. 36.5 last year, 87.6 miles an hour of exit velo. That's fine. But you can see 3.59% home run rate. That's up there for an ace caliber pitcher. That's his one hiccup. So he's in the more high danger spot, I would say, but he's excellent and he could be in every one of your lineups. He's that good. Logan Webb, more ability to keep the ball down, 5.3 degree average launch so far this season, sub 1% home run rate, 1.31% home run on a 2.5 degree launch last year, 0.6 degree launch the year before with a 2.35% home run rate. Spectacular at keeping the ball down. The strikeouts are up somewhat at 32.8 this year. Last year it was 20.5%, the year before 22.8. So that's a spectacular spike in strikeout rate that I understated. We're throwing more strikes overall. We're inducing way more swinging strikes at 11.5%. 105 marked by Stuff Plus. He's been absolutely fantastic. And again, you're getting depth out of Logan Webb more often than not. Two starts this out of the 5, he went 7. A third start, he went 6. Quality start in each one of those. The 2 5-inning starts, he allowed 3 earned runs in both, but still strong outings, 5 strikeouts in both. Got the win in both. Oh, no, sorry. Got the win in one, not the other. Tons and tons upside either way on the mound, and really limits the degree to which I want to get to these lineups. There's really not a ton of power upside showing. Even Jackson Chourio at just 4.19, even Rhys Hoskins at just 4.06. Webb's just going to suppress power. They're going to really have to sequence and scratch out runs. They're okay for that. There are some good on-base options. There are guys that draw walks right through the heart of the lineup here. Got a bunch of double-digit walk rates so far, supported by same quality from last year and the year before. So they're not going to be a pushover for Logan Webb. But with Vegas where they're at nearly, we're almost into the 2s, I think we just side with the pitchers here. If you're going to Brewers, if you're determined to, Bryce Turang, really interesting option against this pitcher. If we're looking for base hits and sequencing, that's the name of his game. He has hit 3 home runs, but we're looking more for on-base skills, correlated scoring, a couple stolen bases out of Turang. Chourio's a priority, even without the home run as on the board. A couple doubles out of Jackson Chourio, still very much in play. 11.4% barrels, 45.6% hard hits. We're still mired at just a 297 xWOBA, which is interesting, just 278 on base. But the kid's a superstar. I mean, we've got so much talent there. Christian Yelich, 48.36, fairly priced, 5 home runs, 5 stolen bases, just 222, 337, 444. 222 ISO is excellent. A 354 xWOBA is excellent. 52% hard hits. It's Christian Yelich. You don't overthink it if you're going to this team, but it's not a good day to go to this team. William Contreras, super high quality catcher, but again, not really against this pitcher. We want the power upside to be there. It's good for bat on ball, though. He's a low strikeout, high walk player, so maybe you get involved. He's a priority play if you're going to the Brewers, but not a reason to go to Brewers. Sal Frelick's just a contact and speed guy. Things I said about Bryce Turang would also apply there. He's at 321, 412, 440. So again, against this type of pitcher, that is a guy that you would want to include, given what his skill set is. 3 base hits out of him, maybe you grab a stolen base and a couple runs scored. So you go to the sequencing type players against a pitcher where you need to sequence, but I just don't attack Logan Webb very frequently. Rhys Hoskins, kind of empty with no power upside. Garrett Mitchell, Joey Ortiz, Caleb Durbin, pretty skippable pieces down lineup against a pitcher that we don't want to target. And then a lot of that's true here, but you do have the power upside. So a little bit of a upside for a homer from Mike Yastrzemski, 6.27. He's hit 3 this season. He's got a 238 ISO at 385 xWOBA, making good contact. Willy Adames, poor start to the year. He's got 1 home run and 1 stolen base at 265 xWOBA. No real quality of contact to speak of, striking out a little bit too much. Well, around where he's been, 25%. But given the lack of quality contact, that's a bad strikeout rate. Young Lee, Matt Chapman, 2 priority bats if you're going to Brewers. Lee's hit 3 home runs. He's also slashing 315, 374, 573 with a 386 xWOBA, crushing the ball when he makes contact, despite just a 6.6% barrel, 35.5% hard hit. Placement has been excellent for this hitter. Benefits a lot from BABIP, but a good bat. Matt Chapman, excellent power upside, 4 home runs on the season, a 341 xWOBA. Tells us everything will be fine in the slash line. Still getting on base at a 398 clip. Love the bat. 4,400, 3,100, cheap at third base for his talent. Elliot Ramos at 39-32 is a mixer. If you're taking the home run upside away a little bit, though, because Freddie's just really good at missing bats, and he's going to be up there swinging pretty loosely, I don't love it, but 6.49 is not nothing in the home run model. Lamont Wade at 29-25, very playable for value, but he's off to a just completely horrendous start at 103, 232, 241. I'm a believer in the talent, given what we've seen over the last few years, but it's difficult to spot right now. He's in a lineup just because he's cheap if we're going to this team, but we're not going to this team because they're a 3.52 total. Wilmer Flores, mix and match piece for some power upside, but again, it's Freddie on the mound. It's a little different even with the home runs that he does allow, with the fly balls that he does allow, just because of his ability to miss bats. So Wilmer at 4.88, not all that appealing. Patty Bailey, Tyler Fitz. I prefer Fitz. You're looking for some hit tool upside. You're looking for some stolen base upside. Scratch out a few base hits. Same deal as with Sal Frelick and Bryce Turang on the other side. You do have the home run upside here. 314, 360, 486 on the season. Just a 267 xWOBA. He's hit 2 home runs. Last year, 15 home runs and 341 plate appearances. So we should see a little bit more power come. But again, not a great spot for Giants. Pick your poison. Freddie, Logan Webb. They're basically tied. Last game of the night. What's going on, Big Chops? Big Chops likes Kumar Rocker. I was just about to say Kumar Rocker, not uninteresting here. Travis is calling out last time Taj faced Arizona. He only went 4, gave up 7 runs. Not something I really, really care about. I don't have that lineup in front of me to compare to who was in that lineup versus who's in the lineup today. At a point when you're looking at game logs like that, and like the last time he faced these guys, especially if you're going back to like previous seasons, which a lot of people tend to do. Not saying you are, Trav. You're just talking about how the pitcher pitches against the laundry at a certain point. Like guys move teams, the rosters, the lineups are completely different. Guys have good seasons, bad seasons. Guys go from prospect to talented regular major leaguer over the course of some of those samples. So you're just talking at a certain point about the laundry. Neto batting second, love it. Do we get that still hasn't landed on Labs. Is Renifo in the lineup or is he out? And excuse me, Trav, you're not wrong for calling that out necessarily, but it just kind of reinforces the point. Like Arizona, quite a high quality lineup. Taj, a roller coaster pitcher. That's really all that tells me, and it just reinforces what we already know. But you're not, wrong for shouting that out. Interesting Los Angeles lineup. Uh-oh. Don't tell me Mike Trout's not in it. That pissed me off after I used him for the home run pick today. Soler leadoff. Interesting. Soler, Neto, Trout, Taylor Ward. So they did drop Ward out of the leadoff spot like I've been calling for, but they did not move Shanuel into it. They went with the power and went with Soler up there. Buying Soler an extra plate appearance or a extra third of a plate appearance and potential for more is very interesting. Renifo is in the lineup, so they did go Neto up top with Renifo going down to the 7 spot. Kyron Paris, Joe Adele, 8-9. Interesting lineup, yeah. So the last one up, as Big Chops was just saying in the chat there, $6,900 for Kumar Rocker on DraftKings. Seems like a high priority SP2. Last time out, I don't know what's making me burp so much under the radar. It's not like I'm burping into the mic, but I got them like, keep doing that. 8 strikeouts last time out against the Angels. Went 7. He did allow 3 earned runs on 5 hits, but a very solid game, and the depth was what was great to see. Prior to that, he had gone 3 1/3, allowed 3 earned runs on 5 hits, just struck out 2, walked 2 against Seattle. That was a disappointing start. He was cheap that day. We were chasing him that day. 5 innings against the Rays earlier in the season, 1 earned run on 6 hits, just 1 strikeout. So the numbers were shaky, but the kid is a very high-end prospect and had tons of strikeout success in the minors. So that last start was very encouraging from the fact that they allowed him to face 27 hitters over 7 innings, even though he gave up a couple of runs, and the fact that he struck out 8 in that game. Really encouraged by that start that we're stepping into his, real shoes here. 6,900 is a potentially excellent price against the Athletics lineup that does still have strikeouts in it, even though they're improving their talent in a very quick hurry. That's well said. Once stuff like that starts coming out of my mouth is when I know we're winding down the show. They've improved this lineup in a hurry, but not necessarily to that degree. Max Muncy is not in the lineup for the A's. We've not gotten the confirmed version, but he got sent back down as Larry broke in the chat the other day, so we don't have to worry about the A anymore. But Rocker, look, we've got that top group of hitters, all their priority bats. That was an average 26% strikeout rate last year. So far this season, it looks a lot better at 19.6, but I think that's a little deceptive. So there are definitely some Ks for Rocker to go find. It's a high danger spot because of all these excellent power bats. You really only need the kid to make 1-2 mistakes to just completely blow up his day, even if he's pitching well. And this stretch of barrels and hard hits could be devastating for that. And I don't think we're in any way overrating Tyler Soderstrom to say that a lot of that is real. I don't think he's going to create runs 76% better than average for the full season, but it's not out of the question. 406 xWOBA, 9 home runs on the board over 99 plate appearances. Kid's a masher. His clone down here, and the guy who's creating a positional conflict for a cheaper price, Mr. Kurtz, come on down. Presumably going to be in the lineup after they called him up and sat him against the lefty yesterday. Kid's an absolute masher. High priority bat if you're going to the A's, and another big time power threat against Kumar Rocker. Also might hit like 5th. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he's in the lineup 5th, right behind Shea Langoliers where JJ Bleday is, and Bleday slides down to the 7th spot. In fact, I would lean that way. Langoliers monster power despite disappointing us in the home run call yesterday. 5 home runs on the season, a 372 xWOBA, a 237 ISO. Major power upside any given slate. 10.9% barrels, 50% hard hits on the season for Langoliers. There's true power there. Butler's good for home runs and stolen bases and run creation. He gets on base at a solid clip. Very good run creator. Excellent bat to tie to Brent Rooker, Tyler Soderstrom shares. Rooker at 5,500, 3,400 is a bargain for his power upside. Well, not a bargain, but fairly priced, maybe a couple $100 cheap. 16.9% barrels, 49% hard hits, 7 home runs on the season, 389 xWOBA, 255 ISO. Strikeouts are down from 28.8% last year down to 25.7 now. They were at 32% 2 years ago. He took a lot of whiff out of his game on like individual pitch by pitch basis. Greatly improved his ability at the plate overall. We're going to see a higher average. We're going to see more on base emerge as time goes on, and he's just a masher at the plate in terms of home runs. Bleday is playable, mix and match piece. Jacob Wilson, one of the top hit tools in the game, just kind of out of the gate for his career. 337, 477. I saw a thing. I haven't verified it, but probably true. Hasn't seen ball 4 this season. Yet to draw a walk. Only striking out at a 4.7% rate. In addition to not seeing ball 4 this season, he's not even seen a ball 3 this season. He's just up there putting the ball in play. So for DFS, that's ideal. That's what you want. From these light hitting types, you want a guy who is just constantly putting the ball in play. Especially when he's got the ability to, kind of dink and dunk his way to some BABIP. Again, Kurtz is a monster option, even if he's hitting 7th, by the way. And then we'll see what happens down at the bottom of the lineup, but neither Gio or Max Muncy would be a priority. Muncy's not going to be there. Gio or whoever the hell. Synthetica says, keep eyeing Sears on the other side. No Seager. Middle end Rangers lineup K's a lot. It's like a medium K lineup, but yeah, no Corey Seager is obviously a massive hit to this team. Semien hit his 2nd home run of the year last night, but he's obviously struggling in a big way. Wyatt Langford is good and is off to a good start for the season. Adelise is very good and is off to a decent start, at least for power upside for the season. But then, yeah, Josh Smith, just kind of a mixer. We've seen stretches like this before. He's not as good as his 57 plate appearances have been. I believe in Josh Young's talent. He's got to come back and, reestablish himself. I think Jake Berger's power is real, but he's always going to be shaky in other ways. And then, yeah, it gets rough. In no way is Sears going to be safe. And like I said, I feel like we haven't talked about him on a main slate this year, but he has made 4 starts. I wanted to see what the numbers look like. He's keeping guys off base. Pitched to a 3.13 ERA, but a 4.63 xFIP is more the realistic number for this pitcher. 18% strikeouts. We're above 20 last year. 18-1 last year, over 180 and 2/3. Above 22 years ago, 21-9. This was where more of his good starts came. The good starts that I mentioned over time. But even in that season, 4.54 ERA with a 5.10 xFIP. Last year, a better ERA and xFIP, 4.38 and 4.86, but only an 18.1% strikeout rate. He did cut walks down a little bit. He lost some swinging strikes year over year, but threw more strikes overall. To kind of change the game around a little bit, you can see Stuff Plus doesn't really love the Arsenal, but he's up a handful of points so far this season. He's always going to be a target for home run upside. So you get a little danger out of Adelise at 11 plus, Jake Berger at 11 plus, these two at 9 plus. So there's definitely power showing here. The Rangers are pulling a nearly 5-run total. So there's things to be aware of if you're fishing around for JP Sears. At 86 on FanDuel, I question the utility of that. I question what the value really looks like. If you're going to do it, I would do it at 77 on DraftKings. I assume that's where you're talking about it. Between the two, I probably prefer Kumar Rocker. Fewer strikeouts available in that Rangers lineup, if we're being honest. If you are fishing around down at the bottom of the Rangers lineup, Higashioka, if he's there, is always interesting to me. You just get a very solid barrel rate consistently out of this player over the last few seasons, and he's doing it again over his 42 plate appearances so far this year. 11.8% barrels, ties right into the 10-9, the 11-1. We saw him break out for 17 homers last year, 7 more than he had hit in a similar number of plate appearances each of the 2 seasons before that. But he's always been just sneaky for cheap catcher shares, bat on ball. Against a pitcher like this, against the lefty like this, Higgy could easily go deep here, 8.01 in the home run model. Interesting player if you're rostering Rangers. And I do think even if we are taking some Sears shares, that's probably a situation where you're at like a 1-to-1 ratio across multiple lineups where every share of Sears, I want a Rangers stack in another lineup. If not multiple, it might be more like a 1-to-2 kind of a ratio. Semion's still in play, 3,250. We saw the upside spike a little bit last night for the cheap pricing. As long as we're keeping him at a low strikeout rate and putting bat on ball and drawing some walks like he usually does, hopefully getting more involved than a 39 WRC plus, hopefully getting on base more consistently. As long as he's doing some of those things while staying very, very cheap, still barreling the ball a little bit, I'm always a buyer if we're going to this team. Second base is the ideal spot to waste that money at. Wyatt Langford for just 43 is very interesting. 12.8% barrels and 46.2% hard hits. He's hit 5 homers, 376 xWOBA. As mentioned, Adelise, 4 home runs, 4 steals. At least you're seeing the power return. 406 xWOBA is incredibly encouraging. 21% barrels, 58.1% hard hits. This looks like the version of Adelise that hit 39 home runs 2 years ago. And then Young and Berger are your next 2 priorities. They're both very cheap on the corners. Either one of those guys, and honestly, taking both those guys in a 5-man is perfectly fine. Let's say we leave out Josh Smith. We take those bats. We fill first, third, second, and 2 outfield shares against JP Sears with all right-handed bats of high quality or formerly high quality or at least distinguishable attributes like Jake Berger's power upside. That's a $3,480, call it $3,500 per man, 5-man. That includes Adelise Garcia. That includes Wyatt Langford, Josh Young, Jake Berger. That's a great 5-man for the money. This team is just crazy, crazy cheap, and we don't even have the Seager cheap upside. FanDuel-wise, the fact that you get 3 positions on Smith, including shortstop, where we don't have Seager at 27, makes him a little bit more interesting on FanDuel. I'd rather get my shortstop elsewhere, but if I'm stacking this team, I'd at least consider him for a shortstop share. If you get the double catcher lineup with Jonah Heim, that's a reasonable mixer. He's got just as much realistic power, and his power is more frequent and more noticeable than Kyle Higashioka, but you get Higgy for 1,000 less. Neither one of those guys is a high priority bat on FanDuel where you don't need the catcher. It's more about the DraftKings requirement. But they're in play if you're stacking this team. And again, I would prefer Higgy at this slightly cheaper price. I think that's about it on the Rangers lineup. Athletics lineup we talked about up and down, 481, 479 implied totals to end the night. I think we're more mining bats, but I'll put both pitchers loosely on the board for value. I think there's more value here. I don't know how much I go to that. I don't think I go to that at all. And this is dicey. Give me Rangers bats given that price value. Then A's bats, even with the run total slightly the other way. And then Kumar Rocker for value on DraftKings. And really only that for if I'm shooting you guys straight about the pitching. With that in mind, gang, 2 hours deep. That is it. Suzuki scratched. We'll get that updated. Hap, Tucker, Turner in the lineup. Justin Turner hitting third. Bush, Swanson, Horner, PCA, Kelly, and Birdie. Small change there, but an important one. Obviously takes one of the Cubbies' best bats out of the equation. That is not an even trade. Going from, say, a Suzuki to Justin Turner. So a little downgrade there for the Cubs for sure. We'll get all the updates going up on the site. Thank you, Cooch. Thank you, Larry. All you guys, really appreciate everybody who was here hanging out through the show. Everybody catching up on Rewind. One last time, check out rotoscouts.com. Under $1 a day gets you access to every single projection, every single piece of content that goes up on that website. Oh, sure, Trev. You got it, buddy. Appreciate the reminder. Back over here to the pitching board. At the end of the show, you can always rewind. I always do the pitching board breakdown at the beginning of the show as well. But the two guys in the San Francisco-Milwaukee game, the two aces on this slate, the obvious two choices off the top of the board at the highest prices, well worth going to either of those guys. Taj does project out great, but that's a high danger spot against that high-quality Diamondbacks lineup. And at the price, especially on FanDuel, there's options I like better. David Fest, I think, is kind of a no-brainer on both sites, even at price. It's going to be popular. It's a great spot, talented kid. Early in his career, but it's a dynamite matchup with tons of strikeout upside. Even if we only get 5 innings out of him, I think he's worthwhile. Lorenzen, fire away for value 82.73. Even though he's not great, even though he's like an 18% strikeout pitcher, there's just so much upside from facing that Colorado lineup. But you can one off some shares from Colorado for a little bit of power upside. You could grab a cheap 3-man, maybe throw a few darts back the other way at Lorenzen if you're doing that. Bowden Francis, don't love it given the matchup, but he's fine for the money on a talent basis. I just still think he's more a full run higher of a pitcher, more like his xFIP has been. And he's like a 22% strikeout pitcher. So he's not a monster upside play, but for 78, especially on DraftKings, he's in play. 93, 9,000, problematic prices for Erod, but the strikeout upside's real, especially against Tampa Bay. High danger spot, high danger pitcher, total roller coaster. Enjoy the ride, though. He's a fun pitcher to roster. Andrew Heaney's the exact same thing, honestly. 81 is a much better buy for Heaney on DraftKings. That said, I am playing up Angels power the other way, especially with that lineup that they configured. Soler, Neto, Trout in the first 3 spots. Love that. Trout, the home run pick of the day. Matthew Boyd, don't do it against the Dodgers. JP Sears, dicey against the Rangers. We just talked about this game. Kumar Rocker right there for a better price against the probably lower end of the two lineups, though that's getting debatable. And then it's a high cut line. Not an option on FanDuel, really. Weak option against the low strikeout Blue Jays, but probably the most playable guy from after Kumar Rocker. The true cut line's probably Rocker, though. I said that at the top of the show. It's really these guys, that group of pitchers that are available on both sites. And then it cuts off. I really don't want any part of Sugano, Newcomb, Herman Marquez. I think he's just lost it. Kansas City bats look great today. So very high cut line today, given the depth of the slate overall. More so on FanDuel. You got it, bud. A good summary of the show there, or hopefully good. I won't weigh in on the quality of it, but it was a summary of the show for sure. With that in mind, let me punch out of here. I will get the projections updated for all the confirmed lineups. It takes me 2-3 minutes. It'll be up on the site in mere moments. Plenty of time for lineup building. Remember, we have a 6:45 start on FanDuel and a 7 o'clock on the nose start on DraftKings today. A little bit odd on the start times. With that in mind, guys, good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share a screenshot when you do. I love seeing those. Makes my night when you guys win. It really, really does. Makes my night even more when I win. But when I don't, I love seeing you guys succeed. And we'll be back tomorrow for more. Oh, programming reminder. Tomorrow's show will be, I believe, the last one of the week. I'm not sure if there's going to be a show on Friday. And then next Monday, I'm not sure if there's going to be a show. I'm going to Cleveland for the weekend. Driving out there on Saturday morning early. That's why there might be a show on Friday. Projections on Saturday and Sunday will be up on the site. You might hit a thing where I'm out and like I didn't get to update a couple of lineups. So keep your eyes on the lineups as far as lineup confirmations, but you can always translate projections from one guy like Justin Turner. You don't give him the same thing as, say, a Suzuki, but take a point off of it, and that's a serviceable projection for Justin Turner. That kind of a thing. I'm going to do my damnedest to keep the projections fully updated all weekend for you guys, though. Going out to Cleveland, we're going to go see the Bouncing Souls on Saturday night out there, even though they're from New Jersey. And then we're going to the Guardians game, which I'm actually psyched about. It's Red Sox Guardians on Sunday afternoon. Never been to that ballpark before, so it's another one to cross off the list. So just to keep you guys apprised, and then we're driving back on Monday, so I'm not sure what time I'm going to be back. Monday projections, I'm going to be doing them from the car, though, so like that's going to fill our 7-hour drive, so plenty of time for projections on Monday. And that's my life, you guys. You guys absolutely rock. One last time, like button, subscribe button. We will see you very, very soon. Later, gang.